Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Copying Natural Treasures, Cultivating Immortality is Not Difficult. Chapter 81. But anyway, despite today's disaster, and Yixuan still fulfilled his promise. Help Lu Lin block it. And then, of course, it's time to catch up in this depressing atmosphere. Time passes day by day. Everything that happens here, it has also been passed back to Chaoyang Palace. And it's not just Xuan's Peak. This time, even the other two main peaks of Chaoyang Palace, Taishuan Peak and Linglong Peak, they have also received news of this matter. As a result, the situation gradually became serious. Even gradually getting out of control. A few days later, somewhere in Taishuan Peak, one of the three main peaks of Chaoyang Palace. In a huge and magnificent cave room, there are two people in the room at this time. They are a young and handsome young man and an old man. Among them, that young man looked like he was only in his 20s or 30s. Handsome appearance, very eye-catching. He was wearing black clothes, with short, thorny hair, and earrings in his ears. In addition, his head, neck, hands and arms, and even other exposed skin, have blood-red lines emerging on them, sparkling, appearing and disappearing. These lines exude an amazing sense of oppression. The momentum is amazing. It's chilling and astonishing. Zhang Diwan, who asked you to come here? Do you believe that I will kill you now? Ha, this is our Chaoyang Palace. We do not welcome you, scum of the blood spirit sect. Suddenly a voice sounded. It seems to contain some coldness, even murderous intent. Suddenly, the temperature in the room seemed to have dropped a lot, and the atmosphere seemed somewhat solemn. The other old man in the room. At this moment, he was staring at Zhang Diwan with an unkind look on his face. It felt like he would suddenly explode at any time if he just disagreed. It's like killing someone with your hands. It feels very tense. But the young man Zhang Diwan was not angry either. Instead, he looked at the old man in front of him with a smile, half smiling but not smiling. Senior Zhou, Master Zhou. Actually, I don't think you need to be so hostile to us, after all. If it hadn't been for what our blood spirit sect did back then, would your Taishuan Peak have the status it has today, as the leader of all the peaks in Chaoyang Palace? I don't think so, right? Zhang Diwan naturally understood that the old man in front of him was no one else. It is none other than the current leader of Taishuan Peak, the leader of the Chaoyang Palace peaks, Zhou Lintian. Zhou Lintian is over 100 years old, and he is already a world-famous foundation-building Zochan expert. So this is definitely a real big shot. It can even represent the entire Chaoyang Palace. You can imagine what this concept is. Of course, apart from that, he himself is not a simple person. He also has some background, and even has a profound background. His name is Zhang Diwan. He is one of the three golden elixir ancestors of the blood spirit sect and a direct disciple of the blood claw ancestor. At the same time, he is also a strong person in the late stage of foundation building. It also has a pivotal position within the blood spirit sect. Very extraordinary. If not, Zhou Lintian, the majestic master of Taishuan Peak. How could it be possible to meet him in person? But Zhou Lintian is a little angry now. What did you say? Zhou Lintian's face darkened. He stared at Zhang Diwan and said coldly. Zhang Diwan, you'd better stop talking nonsense. Otherwise, even if your master is the blood claw ancestor, he won't be able to save you. You have to understand, this is our Chaoyang Palace. Don't be too arrogant. Hee. Zhang Diwan sneered incredulously, but he did not continue to provoke Zhou Lintian, but changed the topic and said calmly. Senior Zhou, I only have one thing to ask you for this time. What's the matter? I would like to invite you, Chaoyang Palace, to attack Qingyan North together with our blood spirit sect. Zhang Diwan said slowly. As soon as these words came out, Zhou Lintian was stunned for a moment, and then his whole body trembled, his face full of absurdity. Attack Qingyan North. That's right. Zhang Diwan nodded and said with a smile. Senior Zhou, I think your Chaoyang Palace should also be very dissatisfied with your current situation. You should even be a little worried, right? And now, this is a God-given opportunity. This is definitely a great opportunity. Senior Zhou, you also know that there is no one above you and me now. Zhang Diwan smiled mysteriously, then narrowed his eyes and said. Some time ago, the great figure of the Mo dynasty, Kunwu King Mo Dangwu, successfully broke through. he reached the realm of Yuanying. Taking this opportunity, the Mo dynasty announced to the world that they would convene the Yuanying Conference. Invite the powerful Jindan experts from thousands of miles around to come and prepare for the Yuanying realm. He congratulates, preaches and teaches Dharma at the same time, and discusses Yuan Ying and Jin Dan Dao. Our 3 ancestors from the Blood Spirit sect have all gone, and I think your ancestor from Taishuan Peak should be no exception. So now we have no one above us. Isn't this a good opportunity for us to show off our talents? It's a rare opportunity. If you miss this time, it won't be so easy next time. What do you think, Senior Joe? The Mo dynasty is a well-known top power in Kangzhou. In the vast territory of Kangzhou, the Mo dynasty is a behemoth second only to the Yuan dynasty. Kangzhou is known as the top 10 powers. They are the 3 sects of the 3 kingdoms and the 2 sects. 1 faction, a tower. 3 kingdoms, Mo dynasty, Chifeng ancient kingdom, Hongya kingdom. 3 sects, Hengluo sect, Blood demon sect, and Tianluo demon sect. 2 schools, Qingshu sect, Longju sect. 1 faction, Shenwu sect. 1 tower, Skeleton demon tower. In other words, if we exclude the great Yuan dynasty, even if we look at the entire Kangzhou, the Mo dynasty is definitely one of the top 10 giants in Kangzhou. There are very few who can compare with it. You can imagine what this concept is. What are you kidding, Zhang Diwan? Do you think I'm stupid? Zhou Lintian narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at Zhang Diwan coldly. Revenge on Qingyunbei is your blood spirit sect's business, what does it have to do with us? Why should we, Chaoyang Palace, help you? Help? No, this is called mutual benefit. This is called cooperation. Do you understand? Zhang Diwan shook his head and said lightly. Now your Chaoyang Palace only has 1 Jindan ancestor who can't support it alone. To put it bluntly, after 100 years, or if something happens to him, will your Chaoyang Palace still be qualified to be compared with our Shuiling sect? Hee. That's impossible, so now is your last chance. While your Taishuan Peak's ancestor is still alive, cultivate a second Jindan strongman as soon as possible. Only in this way can the future of your Chaoyang Palace and everything you have now continue. Otherwise, Senior Joe, I believe you know the consequences, right? Zhang Diwan said this with a smile. But at this time, Zhou Lintian's face has become particularly ugly. At this time, Zhou Lintian was trembling all over. His face was ashen, because he knew that Zhang Diwan was right. In the past, their Chaoyang Palace had 3 golden elixir ancestors. How majestic is that, how prosperous it is. But that was all over 100 years ago. More importantly, in fact, their Taishuan Peak ancestors. He was also a figure of that era. The way of cultivation can lead to longevity and longevity. A monk in the foundation building realm can probably have a lifespan of more than 150. If he can advance to the golden elixir, his lifespan will be doubled immediately, reaching a full 300 years old. But the age of their Taishuan Peak ancestor is probably only that of the original one who has exhausted his lifespan. The ancestor of Linglong Peak who passed away looked 40 or 50 years younger. In other words, his old man's time is running out. I'm afraid he will only be a few decades younger if he survives. And this is for the future of their Chaoyang Palace. It is undoubtedly a huge hidden danger. Even a bomb. There is no answer, and what they are missing now is the golden elixir ancestor. So once their ancestor from Taishuan Peak passes away, it will be a catastrophic disaster, a catastrophic disaster. His expression suddenly changed, and it could be said that his expression was extremely ugly. But he couldn't refute in the end. Only Zhang Diwan looked coldly in front of him and asked. Even so, what does this have to do with attacking Qingyan North? The 5 major forces in Qingyan North, Yanyu Gate has a great Brahma cave. It is said that it is the former ancestor of Yanyu sect's golden elixir, Dafen Zhenren. The magical cave left by Saihua. If you can practice in it, you may increase the probability of forming elixirs. In addition, there is also a golden elixir level spiritual plant in Wulongmen in Qingyan North. It's called the Linglong Ginseng tree. This spiritual tree blooms in 30 years. It takes 30 years to bear fruit, and it takes 60 years to produce a kind of plant called Linglong Ginseng. The fruit of Linglong Danju. This thing is the main ingredient of the pill-forming elixir, Linglong Dan. So you still don't think it's okay yet? Senior Joe. Zhou Lintian's expression suddenly changed, and then he said coldly. Zhang Diwan, do you mean to give us the great Brahma cave and the exquisite ginseng trees? Ha, of course it's impossible. Zhang Diwan shook his head and mocked. Senior Joe, even if I really tell you, do you dare to believe it? I think you are not so naive, right? This is impossible. So, let's talk about something practical. At that time, wait for us to launch a general attack on Qingyan North. You can choose to attack Yanyu Gate, Wulong Gate, or attack both ends, it is up to you. But at the same time, our blood spirit sect may also act together with you, or rob together. So again, everything depends on your own ability. If you can grab it, it is yours, how about it? Zhou Lintian's expression suddenly changed. Then there was silence. At the same time his eyes flickered. You seem to be thinking about something. But at this moment. But Zhang Diwan suddenly stood up. Said lightly. Senior Zhou, I know that this matter cannot be decided in a short while, so I can give you some time. And before that, I will also give you a gift. Gift? Zhou Lintian glanced at him sideways. What gift? Wu, Ji, Gate, Zhang Diwan said word by word. There was also a cruel sneer on his face. I heard that your people were stopped by an Yixuan. Haha, it's so embarrassing. Don't blame me, I can help you deal with this matter. As long as I can stop an Yixuan. Don't tell me that you haven't even reached the great perfection state of Qi training. Can't even deal with it. Zhou Lintian's expression changed. He stared at Zhang Diwan and said, What do you want to do, Zhang Diwan? What do I want to do? I just want to help you. Zhang Diwan sneered and said mockingly, I know you have always wanted to win over the Wuji sect to fight against our blood spirit sect, but is this useful? It seems to be of no use, right? Although An Yixuan's strength is indeed pretty good. But he is still an ant in front of our blood spirit sect. He can't jump at all. Besides, I will give you a piece of news. Do you still remember the Anjia in your Zhao country? Anja? What Anja? Zhou Lintian was stunned for a moment, and then his expression changed. Get up suddenly. Wait, you mean? Do you still remember? It's so noble that you forget things, Senior Zhou. Zhang Diwan mocked and said lightly. And Yixuan, and the An family. They all have the same last name. With such an obvious clue, could it be that you have never doubted their identities? Back then, there were 3 brothers in the An family, namely, the eldest in Hongtu, the second eldest in Yuming, and the third eldest in Yixuan. Of the 3 brothers, especially the third eldest in Yixuan had the best potential and talent. It was the Tianlingqiao. Therefore, he was sent to the Wuji sect at a very young age, so until now, few people know his true identity. Speaking of which, he glanced at Zhou Lintian, whose expression changed and his face was ashen. Then he started mocking. Now you understand. I have worked so hard to win over you for so long, but I didn't expect that it was all in vain. It's really interesting. I have to say that your Chaoyang Palace intelligence officers are really stupid. They can't even investigate this kind of thing. How ridiculous. Let me tell you, is it still necessary for the Wuji sect to exist? Except for the different names, there is no difference between them and the original Anjia. If we leave them alone, what if that old guy in Yixuan becomes a golden elixir one day? Haha, I see how you idiots will end up, so I am helping you now. Senior Zhou, do you understand? Enough. Zhou Lintian suddenly shouted angrily. Then he stood up angrily, stared at Zhang Diwan and said, I'll think about the attack on Qingyan North first. It's not urgent. As for Wuji sect, it has nothing to do with us. Zhang Diwan, what you want is your own business. HMPH. Please, you can go now. He snorted coldly. He was about to see off the guests. Snort. Zhang Diwan also shouted. Sneer. I've seen it, Senior Zhou, you are really hypocritical. But it doesn't matter. Next, just watch my performance. It's just a Wuji sect. I, Zhang Diwan, don't even take it seriously. After saying this, he got up and left here directly. Only Na Zhou Lintian sat back on the spot, his face gloomy, livid, and very ugly. And Jia, and Yixuan. Wuji sect. He really didn't expect that there was a connection between them. After all, this happened for decades, and he never thought about it so much. But, if that's the case, is the original thing in An Yixuan's hands? he murmured, and then his face became even more ugly. Even a little worried. In order to seize the Infamily's thing, they used a little trick to destroy the Infamily. Unexpectedly, the Infamily was destroyed and the things were not found. It's a completely useless effort. I thought this was because their information was wrong. It's a misjudgment, but I didn't expect it to be like this. So, is this because of their negligence? Did they let that thing slip away under their noses? No, if this is the case, Wuji sect cannot be allowed to move. Zhou Lintian gritted his teeth. Then he stood up immediately and left the place quickly. Heading towards the depths of their Taishuan Peak, you want to know what happened to Angia back then, but the secret inside their Taishuan Peak. And even Shuan's Peak and Linglong Peak don't know about this. So he doesn't want to leak it out at all now. This matter. They Taishuan Peak must deal with it as soon as possible. At the same time, Wuji Gate, in Tianxing Pavilion. Time passes day by day. In addition to feeding and upgrading the 5 dragon souls, Lulin now sacrifices and refines ice blast needles every day. He even skips basic training, because these are the only ways he can improve his strength the fastest at present. The information passed through in Wenqing. He also knows now that outside Wuji Gate, there are now a pack of wolves waiting for him. There are many enemies, so he must become stronger. Become stronger. Become stronger. Only in this way can we have the last laugh. But fortunately, he is making rapid progress now. According to his estimation, it should only take more than half a month at most before the golden soul, wood soul, earth soul, etc. in his body will begin to advance and upgrade one after another. Successfully entered the gate of the 3rd level orange level. Until then, everything is done. I don't know how many I can kill by then. Just 2 mid-stage foundation construction and 4 early-stage foundation construction. With my current strength, there is no pressure at all. And as long as they don't run away, I should be able to kill them all, right? Lu Lin murmured, as the 5 dragon souls in the body become more and more powerful. He also realized more and more that he still underestimated the power of the 5 spirit transport technique. According to his calculations, as long as he has more than half of the 5 dragon souls, he will enter the 3rd level of orange level. Then by then, a strong person like an Yixuan in the late stage of foundation building should be considered. They should all be weaker than him. If his 5 dragon souls can completely break through to the 3rd level, then he even feels that he should be strong enough to kill the strong ones in the late stage of foundation building. Besides, if it is the complete 4th level red level, that would be even more exaggerated. According to his calculation, even the foundation building Zochin master should not be his opponent. As for the golden level of Zochin, which is even higher than these, he even has serious doubts now. By then, his combat effectiveness should be comparable to that of the golden pill ancestor at the foundation building level. Comparable to the early stage of Jindan. So one can imagine how powerful this 5 spirit transporting technique can be. It's simply a level up. It's simply beyond imagination. And in addition to these, he has also discovered a problem during this time. That is, when he used the power of the 5 dragon souls to cultivate the ice explosion thread needle. He could clearly feel its progress. It is far faster than the normal sacrificial refining progress speed that he has learned. In other words, from the current point of view, it is like the power of the 5 spirit transport technique, which has a miraculous effect even on the sacrificial refining magic weapon. It can be said to be truly all-powerful. And in this case, with such success, the progress of all his plans has also improved rapidly, and at the same time, his own strength is also growing rapidly visible to the naked eye. Everything is going on in an orderly manner. Just like this, a few more days passed. Finally, another figure came to Wuji Gate. If you look carefully, if it's not Zheng Diwan, the late-stage foundation builder of Blood Spirit Gate, who is it? Are you Zheng Diwan from the Blood Spirit sect? What are you doing here? Looking at the young man in front of me. And Yixuan's expression and attitude were obviously more solemn and serious. After all, he certainly knew the origin and identity of the other party. He was a true disciple of the Golden Elixir ancestor, and he was also a strong person in the late stage of foundation building. At the same level as him. This is troublesome. I didn't expect that even my heart was involved, but what about it? And Yixuan murmured in his heart. A lot of pressure. And Yixuan, I came to you to ask for someone. Facing An Yixuan. Zhang Diwan was not polite at all and sneered directly. Let's get straight to the point. Want someone? And Yixuan's face darkened. I feel a little worried in my heart. But he still pretended not to know and asked. I don't understand you. Zhang Diwan, who are you looking for? Ha ha. Zhang Diwan sneered, then stared at the other party and said slowly. And Yixuan, don't tell me that you are still planning to use that nonsense to slander me. Do you think that I, Zhang Diwan, am one of those trash from the Wei family? Ha, stupid. He changed the subject and said coldly. Now, immediately, hand over the person, otherwise, you will pay the price. Whoosh. As soon as the words fell, there was a whoosh. A streak of blood suddenly flew out of Zhang Diwan's sleeves, with an unbridled edge. Majestic. No one dared to face his sharp edge. As soon as this scene occurs, and Yixuan also looked a little embarrassed. Is it a natal magic weapon? The realm of cultivation reaches the realm of foundation building. You can use your own aura and spiritual power to nourish your natal magic weapon. This kind of thing is far more powerful than a foundation building magic weapon, or when you continue to refine the same foundation building magic weapon. It is possible to get an upgraded version of the natal magic weapon. Although he also has his natal magic weapon. But the question is, does he really want to fight Zhang Diwan in front of him? For him, this choice. It's very difficult. Snort. At this moment, a cold snort came over, and Zhang Diwan suddenly controlled his natal magic weapon to fly out. With a hiss, the blood light dispersed, revealing a bloody sword. Boom! There was a loud roar, mixed with tremendous force. With the roaring wind, it hit the ground hard, and there was a loud roar, and the ground seemed to tremble. A horrifyingly long crack was made. And Yixuan, if you are sensible, please hand him over to me as soon as possible, otherwise, I will make your Wuji sect lose your head today. And, such a big place, Zhang Diwan said coldly. Extremely arrogant. Everyone in Wuji sect was as silent as a cicada, all bowed their heads, no one dared to speak. And Yixuan was trembling with anger and his face was ferocious. But he still said nothing, as if he was afraid of a real fight. But at this moment, the Wei family and others in the distance did not join forces with them to participate. At this time, they all frowned and looked at the extremely arrogant Zhang Diwan in the sky. Although they all have the same purpose and are doing the same thing now, but the hatred between them, or the blood feud, has not dissipated at all. So, they all hesitated, want to go up and join him. A strong man in the early stage of foundation building from the Wei family couldn't help but ask. Wei Hengyuan glanced at Wei Shuiling next to him, but the latter was also full of confusion and seemed to have difficulty making a decision. So Wei Hengyuan shook his head and said lightly, let's take a look first. If he really only comes here to kill people, even if we don't take action, he alone is enough. After all, he is a strong person in the late stage of foundation building. And Yixuan can't stop him. So let's just wait and see what happens. After hearing this, the other foundation building experts of the Wei family also nodded in agreement. After all, how could they join forces with the Blood Spirit sect? If it weren't for the Blood Spirit sect, their Jin Dan ancestor from Shuan's Peak wouldn't have died. This is a blood feud. There's no way they'll forget. At the same time, Zhang Diwan in the sky spoke again. He said with squinted eyes. And Yixuan, let me say it one last time. Hand over the person to me. Otherwise, do you think I will be scared away by you like the trash outside? Ha ha. You can't be so naive, right? For the sake of an outsider, you actually want your entire Wuji sect to be buried with him. Do you really want to do this? And Yixuan. What did he say? The Wei family foundation establishment experts in the distance became angry, their faces very ugly. But at the same time, the disciples of Wuji sect. At this time, But they all had strange expressions on their faces. His face was full of panic. First of all, they were indeed a little scared. Facing the threat of strong men in the late stage of foundation building, they have to be afraid. Secondly, they are also somewhat unwilling and unbalanced. Yes, why? For an outsider, why should people from their Wuji sect be buried with him? What does this have to do with them? It obviously has nothing to do with it. So next, finally someone couldn't help it anymore. Ancestor, why don't we hand him over? He's not from our Wuji sect, so it's okay to hand him over, right? Yeah, we don't even know who he is, why should we die for him? It's impossible. Hand over, ancestor. This is the blood spirit sect. We can't afford to offend it. Suddenly, many members of the Wuji sect began to rebel, and instead began to force Gong and Yixuan. This scene also made Zheng Diwan in the sky laugh at him, his face full of sarcasm. And Yixuan, it seems that your Wuji sect is not of the same mind, or are you planning to betray them? Send them to death. That's enough, Zheng Diwan. And Yixuan scolded fiercely and said coldly. You only want to sow discord, Zheng Diwan. Hee. Of course not. Zheng Diwan laughed mockingly. Disdain. Do you want to fight me? And Yixuan, am I still afraid of you? And Yixuan shouted angrily, and it was obvious that he was really angry. Even if Zheng Diwan is a strong person in the late stage of foundation building, isn't he? How many years have you been angry like this? This really made him unhappy. But at this moment, he saw Zheng Diwan in front of him suddenly paused. Then he sneered, said lightly, why, you are so shy that you don't hide anymore. Little guy, I didn't expect you to dare to come out to see me. Very good, I appreciate you very much. It seems you are quite courageous, aren't you? Ha ha ha. As soon as this scene appeared, and Yixuan's expression changed slightly, and then he looked towards Tianxing Pavilion in the direction behind him. He saw a figure there, opening the door and slowly walking out. Look carefully, who is it if it's not Lu Lin? Senior Lu Lin. And Wenqing in Tianxing Pavilion couldn't help it, but when she saw Lu Lin shake his head calmly after hearing this, she slowly retreated with a worried heart. Next, Lu Lin walked out of Tianxing Pavilion step by step. At the same time, it flew up in the sky. Just like that, he walked towards Zheng Diwan not far away. Lu Xiaoyu. And Yixuan couldn't help but said. Senior, thank you for what happened before. But then, leave it to me, I will solve it. Lu Lin shook his head, and then passed by An Yixuan. Then slowly, he walked straight to Zheng Diwan. Are you here to find me? Faced with Lu Lin's behavior in front of him, Emperor Zheng Yuanming was stunned for a moment. Then he laughed as if it was a little funny. Ha 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 ha. Then he squinted his eyes. He stared at Lu Lin and said. No, you're wrong. I'm not here to find you. I'm just here to kill you. Do you understand? It seems you think you are strong. Lu Lin curled his lips and said lightly. Zheng Diwan's face suddenly darkened. He said it as if he was smiling but not smiling. Boy, killing you should be enough. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a whoosh, and the bloody swords on the ground flew up instantly. Its speed was so fast, it was like a rainbow. In just 1 second, it had already crossed the sky and the earth, steadily hitting the power in midair. Boom! Suddenly there was a loud roar. A brilliant bloody light burst out in the sky. Like a storm blowing up. Shockingly terrifying. Senior Lu Lin. And Wenqing's face changed. She couldn't help shouting. But then, everyone present had their pupils shrink. They were shocked. Even Zheng Diwan, who was confident and sneered, was no exception. What? Zheng Diwan stared at the storm not far away. And saw that his life-defining magic weapon was intercepted there. It was defended. At this time, in front of Lu Lin, a shield that looked like a 5-colored dragon blocked his life-defining magic weapon, the blood sword, steadily. The two seemed to be still competing at this time. And a dull humming sound broke out. But even so, it clearly showed that his life-defining magic weapon was actually blocked. And it was blocked by a small Qi training realm in front of him. How could this be possible? This is impossible. How could this be possible? And it wasn't just him. When this scene came out, the early foundation building masters of the Wei family in the distance also changed their faces and were terrified. No, before coming here, didn't they say that this was just the great perfection of Qi training realm? Didn't they say that at best, it was only the strength of the middle stage of foundation building? But what is this now? Even the blood spirit sect's Zheng Diwan's life weapon couldn't penetrate his magic defense. What the hell is this? Are they dazzled? Do you still think you can kill me now? At this time, Lu Lin sneered, and at the same time, he flipped his palm directly, and a flash of light suddenly rolled up a colorful wave of spiritual power. Immediately blasted towards Zheng Diwan in front. Boom, boom, in an instant, it seemed that huge waves appeared in the sky. The sea water surged, and this force directly formed a pressure of more than 1,000 pounds. Like a waterspout, the huge waves formed a monstrous water pressure, and instantly dragged Zheng Diwan in front of him. Obviously, after becoming a monk in the foundation building realm, his attack methods have also begun to diversify. They are not magic powers or magic weapons and treasures. These are attacks. In fact, spiritual energy attacks, or flat A. Of course these are too. To know the power of spiritual energy in the 5-spirit transport technique. But it integrates the 5 elements of spiritual energy into one. Therefore, he can also easily evolve the power forms possessed by the 5 elements attribute power, such as waves, storms, boulders, and plants. For example, metal, etc. Not good. Zheng Diwan's expression changed and he realized that the matter was in trouble. The opponent's strength is not weaker than his at all, but now, even the initiative and opportunity have been seized. In this case, if one is not good, there may even be a big problem. But having said that, he is not a soft persimmon either. HMPH. He snorted coldly, and dozens of flashes of bloody light suddenly erupted from Zheng Diwan's side, and he threw himself fiercely in all directions. At the same time, he immediately broke away the pressure and restraint exerted on him by the wave in front of him. Next, Zheng Diwan raised his hand and threw it, and suddenly another crystal-clear drill bit appeared out of thin air, as if it was a blood-colored crystal. Speeding towards the willow forest not far away. Blood spirit diamond. Boom. There was a loud explosion. Wolf smoke rolled up, but Zheng Diwan still looked extremely ugly. Because it's useless. It's still useless. He never expected it. His blood spirit diamond was actually unable to break through Lu Lin's magical defense. You must know that this is a powerful attack magic power that even if a strong person in the late stage of foundation building is hit in the front, he will be killed immediately. But now, this is hell. How is it possible that this is useless? Okay, so strong. Not only him, and Yixuan in the distance was obviously stunned at this time. As a powerful person in the late stage of foundation building, he definitely has the most say. If he was hit head-on by Zheng Diwan's blood spirit diamond, something big would happen, but what about now? Such a powerful and amazing attack. But he still couldn't even break through Lu Lin's magical defense. This is simply too exaggerated. It is worthy of the 5-spirit transporting technique, and it is indeed the royal technique of the Yuan dynasty. It is really amazing. Such a powerful defense is comparable to the Zochin strongman. Zheng Diwan, he is finished. Next, and Yixuan felt a surge of excitement in his heart. So excited. After all, he has finished betting now. So as long as Lu Lin can become more powerful, he will become more powerful. The more he earns. At this time, Lu Lin slowly made a comment in his heart. Awesome. Although I had been mentally prepared for it, it was still not as shocking as seeing it with my own eyes. It had to be said that the defense of the 5 dragon souls was really abnormal. Can't beat this. What a joke. He can even declare directly to Zheng Diwan now. Congratulations, you're done. Go. Next, Lu Lin raised his hand, and a pillar of fire suddenly appeared. Shooting out. Maybe it's because it's too fast. Moreover, the distance was so short that Zheng Diwan in front of him just didn't react and had no time to dodge. Then there was a muffled bang and a pillar of fire exploded over him, forming a raging fire. Boom. Zheng Diwan flew backwards with anxiety all over, leaving only a sparkling mirror, which still stayed in place, buzzing and trembling. It seems like I can't hold it any longer. Now Zheng Diwan was really upset. He didn't expect that he really couldn't beat Lu Lin. But that's what happened. How can there be an arrow to turn back when the bow is drawn? So he swept his eyes and immediately looked fiercely at Wei Hengyuan and others not far away, outside the gate of Wuji Gate, and roared. What are you idiots still doing? Do it. Let's take action together and kill him. Otherwise, do you think he will let you go? What a bunch of idiots. Immediately, the expressions of Wei Hengyuan and others also changed. He hesitated a little. Go together. With Zheng Diwan. But at this moment, Wei Shuiling suddenly said. Forget it, let's go ahead. This kid is also our enemy. We can't let him go, otherwise, he is right, and we will be in trouble too. As soon as he finished speaking, Wei Shuiling then flew away in the air. A treasure that shimmered like a flower basket was thrown out of his hand at the same time. Buzz, buzz. Buzz. In an instant, several colorful beams of light burst out. As fast as a cannonball. It fell directly in front of Lu Lin. Boom. Although her attacks still failed to penetrate the defense of the 5 dragon souls, they clearly discovered the form of the 5 dragon souls. But there has been a significant change. Seems a little weaker. It works. The foundation building experts of the Wei family suddenly became excited, and their eyes lit up. Then they all took action and besieged the willow forest above Wuji Gate. Boom, boom, boom. For a moment, several attacks hit Lu Lin and held him back. This finally gave Zheng Diwan some breathing space. I am going to kill you. Zheng Diwan's face turned sinister. He once again controlled his natal magic weapon, the blood sword, to attack Lu Lin. For a moment, it seemed like they had some upper hand again. When seeing this scene, and Yixuan's expression also changed, and he became a little entangled. Logically speaking, he should actually take action. After all, he had already placed a bet on Lu Lin. If Lu Lin loses, he was completely drained of blood. It's almost like going bankrupt. But the problem is that once you take action, the trouble is huge. This means that he will offend Chaoyang Palace and Blood Spirit Sect at the same time. This is also a difficult choice for him. To be honest, it was also difficult for him to make this choice. But at this moment, a sudden change occurred. Seeing that the people from the Wei family were attacking him, Lu Lin not only did not worry about the close combat but even smiled. I thought you wouldn't come. I didn't expect you to be so unscrupulous. Without being deceived. As if hearing Lu Lin's taunting voice, Wei Shuiling was stunned for a moment, and then her expression changed. Shout, be careful. But the words were not finished yet. But it's already too late. In an instant, Lu Lin raised his hand and flicked it, and suddenly there was a puff sound breaking through the sky around him. In less than a second, a total of 21 ice needles as thin as strings appeared out of thin air one by one, and then quickly moved towards the strong men in the early stage of foundation building of the Wei family. Stab it hard. Fly, flying needle. In an instant, all of their pupils shrank and their faces turned pale. After all, they certainly knew about the flying needle, a well-known yin weapon in the world of cultivation. More importantly, they are miserable now. They are all being targeted. Boom, 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 boom. The next moment, the 4 early-stage foundation building experts from the Wei family who had just come to besiege Lu Lin were all pierced by those flying needles. It turned into a bloody sieve of human flesh. No, Wei Shuiling's pupils shrank, and then her expression immediately changed. His face became ferocious. Stop it. But she is only in the middle stage of foundation building. How could it be possible to stop Lu Lin now? Obviously that is definitely impossible. Boom. Next moment time, a huge fireball, like the sun, appeared in front of the early stage foundation building warriors of the Wei family, and with a loud bang, it engulfed them. Sweeping in an instant. Eat, the 4 of them. Hiss. Everyone in Wuji sect couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. His face was filled with shock and he was sweating profusely. No, this is a powerful foundation builder. And there are still 4 people. But now, that's all. Is this gone? You little fool, you die. A roar sounded. Wei Shuiling rushed towards Lu Lin with a ferocious face. Murderous. At the same time, the natal magic weapon flower basket in her hand was already emitting dazzling light, as if it was about to show the strongest blow. Majestic. Shockingly terrifying. Obviously because of such huge losses. She has lost her mind a little at this moment. But this was different from the figure of Wei Hengyuan in the distance who had already begun to flee for his life. What a sharp contrast. She lost her mind and came to die. Wei Hengyuan still remained calm. So he ran away, like a bereaved dog. As for Zheng Diwan of the Blood Spirit Sect, even earlier when those people from the Wei family came to besiege Lu Lin, he had already run away secretly. Obviously, what to do together? What alliance? All fake. What he wanted from the beginning was to run. So what he did before was nothing more than trying to support others. Just die for him. I just didn't expect anyone to be so stupid. They actually came. Zheng Diwan in the distant sky was full of ridicule, but then he stared at Lu Lin with some surprise. Then he turned around and ran away, turning into a streak of blood and flying away. And at the same time, facing Wei Shuiling, who was attacking towards him, Lu Lin just raised his hand lightly. 5 dragon spins. In an instant, it was as if a dragon roared and a colorful giant python appeared in the house. Oh no, or a dragon appeared out of thin air and then rushed out, biting into pieces the flower basket in front of me. With a squeak, Wei Xueling trembled all over. I just vomited blood. The natal magic weapon was destroyed. She was also bitten. It finally made her wake up a little bit. This is impossible. At this moment, her face was extremely pale. But then, she felt something bad. But it was still too late. I didn't expect that after destroying her natal magic weapon, the power of the 5 dragons in the sky would. They actually haven't dissipated yet. Roar. 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 Then I saw them coming hand in hand, and they killed this strong man in the middle stage of foundation building on the spot. It was torn apart, torn into pieces, and then exploded quickly in the sky. Boom. Blood immediately shot out several feet high. The strong smell of blood. It also spread all at once. People looked at the scene in front of them with dull eyes. Totally sweaty. My scalp was numb and I couldn't believe this was actually true. How long has it been? I'm afraid it only takes less than 10 minutes. What's the result? 5 of the 6 great foundation building experts of the Wei family died. The rest were so frightened that they pissed themselves and ran away. It's like a lost dog. What is this concept? It's almost like a dream. It's so unreal. And at this time, Chang Li also breathed a sigh of relief, and then laughed. Done. Fortunately, he was able to catch up this time. Otherwise, there might be some trouble. Fortunately, everything was resolved smoothly. Now that 5 strong foundation builders died in one fell swoop, it was time for them to feel some pain. Otherwise, would they really think that Lu Lin was pinched and could be bullied casually? Snort. That's impossible. Lu, little friend Lu, are you okay? At this moment, a hoarse voice came, and An Yixuan was seen slowly flying over. At the same time, the look in his eyes towards Lu Lin clearly contained an emotion that seemed to be that of a monster. Obviously, he was obviously frightened by today's battle. Stronger than Zheng Diwan of the Blood Spirit sect. Are they all so embarrassed? His strength is only about the same as Zheng Diwan's. In other words, Lu Lin's strength today is very likely to have surpassed him. To him, this simply destroyed his worldview. This is too fast, right? Is this really because of the 5 spirit transport technique that it is so powerful? Or is it because of other reasons? He didn't dare to think about this. Unexpectedly, but luckily, he made the right bet. A trace of ecstasy emerged on An Yixuan's face, and he quickly said to Lu Lin. Lu Xiaoyu, please come with me, this is not the place to talk. After saying this, he quickly looked towards Zhang Xian, the powerful Wuji sect foundation builder not far away. Shout out loud. Xian, I'll leave the disciples to you first. Tell everyone to go back first and wait for my orders. Zhang Xian glanced at An Yixuan and Lu Lin with a complicated expression. Then he nodded. He said quickly, yes, ancestor. Originally, he was one of those who wanted to hand over Lu Lin. But now, he is afraid. He dares not. Those Wei family's early and middle foundation building masters, Lu Lin killed them like killing chickens, which of course also means that if Lu Lin wants to kill him, it must be easy. Therefore, as a weak person, he certainly cannot decide the fate of the strong. On the contrary, he himself, or they, are the victims who are controlled and have their fates decided. And they can't resist. After a while, in an inconspicuous room somewhere in Wujimen, An Yixuan, and Wenqing, and Lu Lin. The 3 of them have already appeared here. Little friend Lu, you have to leave here as soon as possible. As soon as he came up, An Yixuan got straight to the point. He said with a serious face. You killed 5 foundation builders of the Wei family. These are people from Chaoyang Palace, they will definitely not let it go. Next, they may also use all their strength to deal with you. So there is no time to lose. Little friend Lu, you'd better leave quickly. As long as they can't find you, they shouldn't be able to do anything to you. Looking at An Yixuan in front of him, Lu Lin asked back. Of course I can leave, but what about your Wuji sect? You don't have to worry about this. An Yixuan shook her head and said lightly. After you leave, I will disband Wuji sect on the spot. At that time, I will also choose to leave. Disband Wuji sect. Lu Lin was stunned. Obviously, He didn't expect An Yixuan to be so direct, so decisive. Such a big Wuji sect was disbanded directly like this. But think about it carefully. This seems to be a good idea. Otherwise, once the Chaoyang Palace or even Emperor Zheng gets angry, they will definitely be the first to suffer. By that time, it will be a complete disaster and a dead end. Third Grandpa. At the same time, and Wenqing on the side was also a little anxious and couldn't help but say. But was quickly interrupted. Okay, Wenqing, shut up. You have no right to speak here. After scolding, An Yixuan looked towards Lu Lin. At the same time, he also had a more pleading look on his face. Road, Lu Xiaoyu, you don't need to worry about anything else. I just want to ask you one thing. I hope you can promise me. What's the matter? Just tell me, senior. As long as I can agree to it, I won't refuse. Lu Lin also nodded, although it had nothing to do with him. After all, the Wuji sect was so big that it was about to be disbanded. He was still a little soft-hearted. So as long as it's not something excessive, he plans to accept it. Just think of it as tit for tat. Lu Xiaoyu, I want to ask you to help me take care of Wenqing. Even if it means being a slave. Please take Wenqing with you. Please. An Yixuan bowed to Lu Lin solemnly. The attitude is extremely humble. Third Grandpa, what are you talking about? I won't leave. I want to be with you. And Wenqing's eyes were red. I couldn't help but say. But he was slapped in the face instantly. The slap was extremely loud. Can't you hear me tell you to shut up? If you still recognize me, just do what I say, otherwise I won't have you as my granddaughter. An Yixuan roared. Moreover, his slap also wiped out An Wen. Even Lu Lin was stunned. No, I didn't refuse either. It's not like it's not. Lu Lin couldn't help but press her cheek, as if she was a little embarrassed. But he still nodded. Road, senior, if you want me to take care of her, you can. I promise you. From now on, just let Wenqing stay with me. Thank you, Xiaoyu Lu. Thank you. An Yixuan bowed to Lu Lin again. Then he looked towards the tearful An Wenqing. Another sigh. Why? Wenqing, from now on you will be a maid by Lu Xiaoyu's side. Do your job well and take good care of Lu Xiaoyu. As for the future, if you want to come to me in the future, you can go to the ancestral land. If nothing else happens, I should take people there. Also, remember what I said to you before, about revenge. Think about it in the long term, do you understand? And Wenqing's eyes were red. Tears are also rolling in my eyes. But at this time, it was obvious that An Yixuan's intention was understood. That's right, that is revenge. Then she nodded, and then bowed solemnly to Lu Lin in front of her. Little girl An Wenqing, please see the master. Okay, get up. Lu Lin also felt a little uncomfortable with this. With a wave of his hand, a stream of spiritual energy rolled out. He immediately dragged An Wenqing to his feet. At the same time, he took another deep look at An Yixuan in front of him, his eyes flickering. Obviously he was not stupid. He understood that the other person's words were actually meant for him. But it didn't matter to him. After all, it is only correct if there are conditions and requests. That's human nature. If you don't ask for anything. On the contrary, it is even more problematic. Revenge. Forget it, we'll see what happens later. If you can help, you can help. If not, forget it. He has the initiative. There is no need to force it. So next, he cupped his hands towards An Yixuan in front of him and said slowly. Senior, in that case, without further ado, I'll take my leave first. In addition, thank you for what happened earlier. I, Lu Lin, am naturally not a ruthless person. I owe you a favor for this matter. If you do it in the future, if you have any needs, you can come to Qingyan Bei Wulongmen, or use this thing to come to me. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and patted it. Then there was a gathering of spiritual light. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In an instant, all these spiritual energy rays of light merged together and turned into a colorful 5-color talisman. This is the gathering of the power of the 5 dragon souls in his body. If you are not someone who also practices the 5-spirit transporting technique, and you must have the 5-spirit apertures, otherwise it should be difficult to imitate it. Although in his opinion, in fact, this matter is not really that big of a favor, but seeing how An Yixuan protected him before, he still decided to keep a good relationship. Maybe it will be useful in the future. Looking at the 5-dragon soul talisman in front of me, and Yixuan opened his mouth, as if he wanted to say something. But he finally swallowed it and just nodded. Then he stretched out his hand to grab it and directly pocketed it. Lu Xiaoyu, I leave this useless little granddaughter to you. Next, please take care of yourself. Lu Lin nodded. Then he bought the flying magic weapon at the Langkang Mountain auction, Yunlin speeding car. Take it out. Then there was a loud bang, and the Yunlin speedster appeared out of thin air. Then transformed, it turned into a majestic warship and speed car. Let's go. It's time to go. Lu Lin glanced at An Wenqing behind him, and then walked towards the Yunlin flying car. Third grandpa, take care. An Wenqing bowed solemnly to An Yixuan in front of him, then turned around and left, following Lu Lin into the Yunlin flying car. Then he quickly soared into the sky, turned into a ray of light and left the sky above Wujiman. And seeing this scene, looking at the distant light in the sky, An Yixuan also squinted and smiled, muttered to himself, Big brother, second brother, I don't have the ability to give you, to avenge our own family, but maybe Xiao Wenqing can. You are down there, you should blast him more. Maybe this is really a great opportunity for her. I hope so. Master. A voice came. Lu Daoyun appeared behind An Yixuan, with a complicated expression. Are you really going to disband Wujiman? Daoyun, are you willing to leave with me? Looking at the disciples in front of him, a trace of guilt appeared in the depths of An Yixuan's eyes. Sorry, I am sorry for you, but... Don't say it, Master. Lu Daoyun shook his head and said calmly. Without you, there would be no Lu Daoyun today. Wherever you go, I will follow you. But what about others? Don't force it. An Yixuan shook his head and said lightly. Take away those who are willing to leave with us. If they don't want to, it doesn't matter. Go and take out everything in the treasure house and share it with them. I don't want it. This time, I am sorry for them. I hope they can understand me. Yes, Master, I'll go now. Soon, the huge Wuji sect fell into pieces. It completely fell apart overnight. Become history. Everyone also parted ways. Early the next morning, An Yixuan, Lu Daoyun and others set out on the road away from this land with some disciples who were willing to follow them. As for the others who don't want to leave with them, for example, Zhang Xian and so on, they still maintained the old banner of Wuji sect and started their new story. And a new future. Life is long, everyone has a different path. And at the same time, news reached Chaoyang Palace. Chaoyang Palace was furious. As a result, new extensions and changes have emerged. Chaoyang Palace, Taishuan Peak, in a magnificent palace. One after another, there are figures with the strength of the foundation building realm. They are all gathered here at this time. These figures, they are all the masters of the peaks of Chaoyang Palace. Represents the core of the entire Chaoyang Palace. Among them, 3 of them are the most dazzling. It is also obviously the biggest core among them. They are Zhou Lintian, the master of Taishuan Peak. The master of Shuan's Peak is Master Zan. And the master of Linglong Peak, Meng Yuwu. Meng Yuwu is an old man who looks hunched over and has brown spots all over his body. He is very ugly and looks like he is about to die. But his temper is not small at all. Shengshuan, what are you doing at Shuan's Peak? What's going on with Wuji sect? And what's going on with that boy named Lu? Also, why did Zhang Diwan show up here? What is he here for? He roared as soon as he came up. He stared closely at Junshuan Shengshuan and asked questions for a while. Master Shengshuan's face changed for a while, turning blue and purple, but he also knew that he was wrong, so he could only swallow this breath. Said slowly, I have no idea. What did you say? Why don't I know? Master Shengshuan raised his voice. He raised his head and stared at Meng Yuwu and said, I said I don't know what happened to Zhang Diwan. Why did he appear in Wuji Gate? I don't know. After a pause, he shook his head again and started to explain. This Lu Lin killed my disciples Wei Shanmin and Lin Feng. I wanted revenge, so I asked the Wei family to handle the matter. After all, Wei Shanmin is also a member of the Wei family. But I had no idea that he was so powerful. Having said this, he also looked at a certain figure in the palace. Then he frowned and said coldly, Wei Hengyuan, is that boy really that good at spreading the news? Even Zhang Diwan can't beat him. It turned out that it was the ancestor of the Wei family who was lucky enough to save a dog's life. Wei Hengyuan. However, at this time, he did have a face full of fear, as if he was still living in the shadow of Lu Lin's powerful strength. The mentality is completely broken. Feng, Peak Master, there is absolutely nothing false about this matter. That boy is really, really strong. And not just our Wei family, but even Zheng Diwan of the Blood Spirit sect. Even he can't break through his magic defense. That's why we were defeated. Wei Hengyuan looked sad. He said dejectedly. And as soon as he said this, suddenly, the entire palace was enveloped in a rather depressing atmosphere. It seemed extraordinarily silent and quiet. After all, of course they all know who Zheng Diwan is, a late-stage foundation-building powerhouse of the Blood Spirit sect, a direct disciple of the mighty Golden Pill Patriarch Blood Claw Patriarch, absolutely. A genuine top powerhouse. But now, he couldn't even break through the opponent's defense. What is this concept? Could it be that that guy is still a strong person in building the Zochin Foundation? At this moment, Meng Yuwu asked. The tone was even a little impatient and cold. Wei Hengyuan, you mean, that boy is a foundation establishment Zochin? I don't know. Wei Hengyuan shook his head and said with some fear. What I have observed is that his cultivation level is only in the early stage of foundation building, but this must be false. This is definitely impossible. But in terms of strength alone, he is definitely stronger than Zheng Diwan. After all, even Zheng Diwan was beaten away by him. Everyone saw this with their own eyes that day. So, Master Meng, this is absolutely true. Is it Zheng Diwan again? Meng Yuwu's expression suddenly changed, and he looked a little embarrassed. But he still endured it, then looked at Zhenren Shengshuan and Zhou Lintian in front of him, and said coldly. Zhou Lintian, Shengshuan, what do you say? How should we handle this matter? Of course, kill him. Take revenge. Master Shengshuan said it directly. I don't care if he has perfect foundation establishment or not, but he must die. 6 people from the Wei family left, and now what? Only one of them came back alive. This time it's them. What about next time? Will it be you next time? In short, this matter must not be let go like this. Lu Lin, I will definitely kill him, otherwise, where will the face and majesty of our Chaoyang Palace go? His face was filled with murderous intent. Obviously he is never ready to give up. Murderous. Meng Yuwu sneered, and then looked at Zhou Lintian. Zhou Lintian, what do you Taishuanfang say about this matter? Why are you mute? You can speak. Zhou Lintian glanced at Meng Yuwu. Then he suddenly said. Not long ago, Zheng Diwan came to see me. As soon as this statement came out, everyone was surprised. What? Everyone's eyes are focused on Zhou Lintian's face. I was shocked. I thought this incident only involved Xuan's Peak, but I didn't expect that Taizan Peak was also involved. Meng Yuwu's expression suddenly changed. Then he suddenly yelled. Zhou Lintian, what do you mean? Could it be that you and the people from the Blood Spirit sect are secretly colluding? Obviously, what he said was completely to sow discord. You must know that the biggest core of their Chaoyang Palace is now. It's Taishuan Peak. Therefore, even if anyone can collude with the Blood Spirit sect, it is impossible for them, Taishuan Peak. If not, the relationship between them would not be so incompatible and tense. Everyone, let's put aside the Wuji sect matter and the Lulin matter for now. I'll talk to you about another matter first. This is also the purpose of Zheng Diwan coming to me. At this moment, Zhou Lintian suddenly spoke. Said slowly. Then he used the same rhetoric that Zheng Diwan used before. It was all retold in full. And after he said this, the whole place was dead silent, and everyone became silent. Everyone was obviously shocked. Join forces with the Blood Spirit sect. Attack Qingyan North. This. I would like to ask for your opinion. Do you think this is feasible? Looking at the dead silence in the audience, Zhou Lintian asked slowly. Then he added another sentence. Of course, don't worry, you can think about it carefully, after all, this matter is of great importance. It's even enough to change the future of our Chaoyang Palace. Having said this, then he seemed to close his eyes and rest, no more words. After such a long time, only then did I see someone break the calm. He asked hesitantly. Peak Master, are what they said true? Ancestor really wants it. Obviously this person is also a member of Taishuan Peak. Even though he didn't finish his words, everyone understood what he meant. That is their supreme patriarch Jin Dan, patriarch of Taizan Peak. I really want to die. Passed away in sitting position. It's true, but it's not as serious as you think. Zhou Lintian opened his eyes and said slowly, Ancestor has already reached 267 this year. Although it has not yet reached the stage where lifespan has been exhausted, but it is indeed time to think about the future. If we can't give birth to a new golden elixir powerhouse in the next few decades, it will be a huge disaster for you, for us, for the entire Chaoyang Palace. So, we have to prepare for a rainy day. Hearing this, everyone fell silent again. Then someone said again, but, is what Zhang Diwan said true? The great Brahma cave at Yanyu Gate, the exquisite ginseng tree at Wulong Gate, do they really have these things? And can these things really help us give birth to a strong Jindan? This seems to be true. Master Shengshuan suddenly spoke, his eyes flashing, and said, I know the great Brahma cave of Yanyu sect. It was the ancestor of Yanyu sect in the middle stage of Jindan. The inheritance left by Dauphin Zhenren. And I also heard that Dauphin Zhenren of Yanyu sect seems to have some relationship with the Qingyan ancient kingdom on the other side of Qingyan. But I don't know much about the exquisite ginseng trees in Wulong sect. This thing should be true. Zhou Lintian said through the interface. I went to investigate their specific information in the past few days. Then I found that the Wulong Gate seems to have some relationship with the Qingyan Palace on the other side of the Qingyan Mountains. And, do you still remember? There is an elixir over there in Qingyan Palace. It's called Linglong Zudin. This elixir seems to be made from the fruit of the Linglong ginseng tree, Linglong Danju. As soon as these words came out, Meng Yuwu spoke and said with a frown. In other words, that guy Zhang Diwan didn't lie to us. Is he really planning to join forces with us to attack Qingyan North? Although he is one generation higher than Zhang Diwan. But he had enmity with Zhang Diwan in his early years, so even now, he is very hostile to Zhang Diwan. But this incident made him surpass the hostility in his heart. And hatred. Even some are ready to move. Do not forget, if this plan is really launched, if we really want to do our best to cultivate the next Jindan Patriarch for Chaoyang Palace, who will it be? I'm afraid, only he, Meng Yuwu, and Shengshuan, Zhou Lintian. Only among the three of them. Have you chosen one? So how could he not be moved by this? To know, this is pill formation. It doesn't matter whether he lies or not. After all, we are not stupid. It is impossible to completely believe him. But how to choose this matter? Now we need all of you's opinions. In addition, Zhou Lintian paused for a moment. Then he looked towards Zhenren Shengshuan. Road, Shengshuan, this is also the news that Zhang Diwan gave me. The guy named Lu seems to be from Wulongmen in Qingyan North. Real, Master Shengshuan was stunned for a moment. Then his eyes started to fluctuate a little. Or maybe he was also moved. According to the information, that kid ran away yesterday. It's too late to chase him now. But I estimate that if he is really from Wulongmen, he can run away, but the monk can't run away from the temple. When we kill Wulongmen, we can still find him. So, give me a decision now. Do you agree? Join forces with the Blood Spirit sect to attack Qingyan North. Zhou Lintian said coldly. I agree. Meng Yuwu was the first to express his stance. The eyes are hot. I agree. Master Shengshuan also nodded. The eyes are full of fire and murderous intent permeates the air. For him, this was instant revenge. It can also hit the Golden Core realm, which is the best of both worlds, so he can't refuse. And after seeing this scene, seeing that the masters of Shuan's Peak and Linglong Peak, two of the three main peaks, agreed, of course others understood that the matter had been settled and there was nothing more to say. Next, times change. Chaoyang Palace is actually joining forces with the Blood Spirit sect. I agree. I agree. In an instant, everyone in the palace made a statement. Then I saw Zhou Lintian laughing, and at the same time, he waved his hand. Okay, if that's the case, let's start preparing for the battle. I will personally deal with the Blood Spirit sect regarding the alliance. And you just need to be ready. Just wait for my news. Next, the conference adjourned, and the behemoth Chaoyang Palace began to rumble around. Alliance, let's go to war. At this moment, they will also transform into war machines. Bare their sharp fangs, and at the same time, Lu Lin and the others have also left Changgang country. We are speeding towards the country of riding. The other side. Yunlin speed is indeed a luxury item that Chaoyang Palace should pursue. Regardless of grade, flight speed, other configurations, forbidden defense power, attack power, etc., they are far superior to the foundation building speedster of Wuji sect. At this time, Lu Lin made a homemade deck chair in the open space on the deck at the top of the Yunlin speed car. At this time, he was lying on the deck chair to rest leisurely. During this period of time, he has been a little nervous. After all, whether it was the auction at Langkang Mountain or the Wuji sect now, he was still a little bit dangerous. But fortunately, the danger is now over. He just ran away. I expected that those people from Chaoyang Palace would definitely not be able to catch up with him. Moreover, with his current strength, as long as it is not a group of late-stage Foundation Establishment players, or a strong Foundation Establishment Zochin player himself takes action, he is no longer afraid. So, of course he is not panicking at all now. Then it's time to go back and take a look, Lu Lin murmured, slowly raising his head. His eyes were looking in a certain direction. That direction is also Qingyan North. It's exactly the direction of Wulongmen. Counting the days, it has been several years since he came out this time. And it's been just a few years. This caused an explosive transformation in his strength. From the realm of Qi training to the realm of foundation building. Also, from the actual combat power of Zochin in the Qi training realm to the current late stage of foundation building. It is no exaggeration to say that he is like a different person now. It's simply not what it used to be. Wealth and honor do not return to their hometown, just like brocade clothes should travel at night. Of course he is not this kind of person. And if nothing else goes wrong, he should have been on the blacklist of Blood Spirit Sect and Chaoyang Palace by now. This area of Kangzhou is mostly their territory. So now Qingyan North is safer. Go back now. It's a smart move. But before that, I have to deal with some little mice. Lu Lin murmured. There was a killing intent deep in his eyes. The 5 people who fought in Langkang Mountain. Although 3 people died, there are still 2 left. These 2 people deserve to die. So he is going to deal with it all this time, and now that he has the strength, it is time to revenge overnight. He's going to take revenge. Besides, Yun Junjun. In front of Lu Lin. It seemed that the woman from the Golden Silkworm Club appeared. Although the incident at Langkang Mountain had evolved to that point, it was probably because he was too extravagant at the auction, spent too much money, and was envied by others. But it is undeniable that, even if this incident did not happen, he must have been sold out. And this person is Yun Junjun. Although he has no evidence. But why does he need evidence? Immediately, Lu Lin's face had some half smiles. If that's the case, then you are unlucky. This time when I go back, I will take care of you all. Wash your necks. Wait, revenge is definitely for revenge, and he will catch them all in one fell swoop, and try to kill all those guys in one pot. He said that revenge will not be overnight, so he will fight and make a quick decision. Give them a quick death. Then he looked at an Wenqing not far behind him and asked. Wenqing, let me ask you a question. Do you know who the 2 people who ran away from Langkang Mountain were? Master, I know. And Wenqing nodded, and her eyes flashed. She understood that those people might be in trouble. In addition to those guys in the Qi training realm, the ones who participated in the siege of Yu, Master, that day were Wei Shanmen and Lin Feng from Chaoyang Palace, and the half-human and half-demon family. Ouyang Lai from the Ouyang family. But they are all dead. In addition to them, there are 2 more people, Bai Ziyu from the Bai family, and Zhang Yuan, the elder of the Blood Spirit Sect. Bai Ziyu, Lu Lin murmured, and he remembered a little bit after hearing this. He remembered that among the 5 people at that time, the most powerful one should be Ouyang Lai, who could turn into a so-called half-demon. But the one who impressed him the most was not this person. The one who impressed him the most, or the one who was the most arrogant, but that white-haired Bai Ziyu. When he thought of him, some cold light flashed in Lu Lin's eyes. This guy is very arrogant. Wenqing, what's the matter with this Bai family? Obviously, he was tempted. Master, the Bai family is also a family of immortal cultivators at the foundation building stage. And Wenqing said, and then explained. The Bai family is located in Kanglu Mountain, west of Cheki country, and belongs to the Fudao family. Famous for the way of spiritual talismans. Their strength should be pretty good, right? Because it is said that there are 3 or 4 cultivators at the foundation building stage in their Bai family. And one of them is even in the middle stage of foundation building. And that Bai Ziyu at the beginning. He is one of them. There is only one in the middle stage of foundation building. Lu Lin curled his lips, and then continued to ask. I know, what about the other one? And that Zhang Yuan from the Blood Spirit sect. What's the matter with him? Master, Canyon City in Cheki country is one of the important branches of the Blood Spirit sect. So the strength of the garrison there will be much stronger than other places. And Wenqing said slowly. Then she continued to talk. Her eyes flickered. The chief elder of the Canyon City branch of the Blood Spirit sect is named Wu Yushan. He is a mid-stage foundation building expert with amazing strength. In addition, there is one thing that you may not know yet, that is the Lord of Langkang Mountain at the auction that day, Master Langkang. He is actually a member of the Golden Silkworm Society. After these words came out, Lu Lin was stunned for a moment, a little surprised. What? Master Langkang is actually a member of the Golden Silkworm Society. This is a bit new, he really didn't expect it. The Langkang Mountain auction at the beginning was far from the current scale. This is because later, there was the power of the Golden Silkworm Society, which continued to promote it, so maybe it was at that time that Master Langkang had already joined the Golden Silkworm Society. And Wenqing explained. Then she changed the subject. Said. Master, as far as I know, in fact, the incident at the beginning was inseparable from these 2 people. Why? Lu Lin asked back. What else do you know? The Golden Silkworm Society and the Blood Spirit sect have always been in the same boat. Birds of a feather. Although the one who betrayed your intelligence was the Golden Silkworm Society, they must have been behind it. Even when we went to buy the information, the one who personally received us was Wu Yushan from the Blood Spirit sect. And Wenqing gritted his teeth. Really? Lu Lin murmured, and then silently put these 2 names on the blacklist. He didn't like the people from the Blood Spirit sect and the Golden Silkworm Society to begin with. Now, it's good, there won't be much difference if there are 2 more of them, so just kill them all at once. Save trouble. Then he asked another question. Which one is closer from here? The Bai family, or Canyon City? The Bai family, and Wenqing said without hesitation. The Kanglu Mountain where the Bai family is located is the border west of the Cheki kingdom. We just need to pass by there when we go there now. Good. That's perfect. Lu Lin sat up directly and said with squinted eyes. Revenge never waits. Next we'll start with the Bai family. I'll settle all these debts one by one. Master, with your current strength, they can't possibly be your opponent. It's their bad luck to mess with you. And Wenqing said without hesitation, feeling a little gloating in her heart. This is how the world of cultivation is, you kill me and I will kill you. If you offend someone you shouldn't offend, this is what will happen. He was directly pushed and crushed. Razed to the ground. Time passes day by day. Soon it was already 10 days later. Back then from Langkang Mountain to Wuji Gate. It took them more than half a month. And now, but it only takes a little over 10 days, which is equivalent to saving 1/3 and speeding up by 1/3. As you can imagine, this undoubtedly indirectly increases the value of Yunlin speed car. This thing is indeed better than the foundation building speed car of Wuji sect. And it's much stronger. It is equivalent to the difference between top configuration and simple configuration. And in addition to this, Yunlin Speedster not only has speed, but also has defense and attack power. It should take some time for an ordinary mid-stage foundation building powerhouse to break through its defense. If it is an attack versus bombardment, the attack power of this thing should be comparable to some of the more powerful early-stage foundation building powerhouses. It's pretty awesome. On this day, the Yunlin Speedster that Lu Lin and Wenqing were riding had already stopped among the clouds in the sky above a certain group of buildings. They looked down below. Is this the Bai family? Yes, master, this should be the Bai family. And Wenqing nodded. Then let's go. Go down and have a look. Chapter 91. Baijia in Heron Mountain. In a huge cave. This is the forbidden area of the Bai family. Unless you are in a high position, or are powerful, or a strong foundation builder, you are not allowed to approach this place. Here, there are restrictions, formations, and even spiritual talismans left by the ancestors of the Bai family. These are full of powerful power. And the lethality, it is no exaggeration to say that even an ordinary foundation building expert who dares to trespass here will be instantly overwhelmed and killed, and will die without a burial place. Besides, there is also the most intense spiritual energy in the entire Bai family here. It is a holy land for cultivation. Whether it is the realm of chi training or even the realm of foundation building, practice here. Everything will be great with each passing day. It is of great benefit. But today, some lights are shining brightly in the forbidden area of the Bai family. Very lively. Almost all the senior executives of the Bai family have arrived. Especially those 4 foundation building experts. In the middle stage of foundation building, Bai Rongcheng; in the early stage of foundation building, Bai Ziyu, Bai Zhengshang, and Bai Kanghai. They are all here. However, it can also be clearly seen that the looks on their faces and even the atmosphere here seem to be a bit depressing. There is a haze hanging over everyone's heads. This is because ever since Bai Ziyu saved her life and ran back, it's always been like this. That day, in the battle at Langkang Mountain, 1 against 5, they actually succeeded in killing 3 people and scaring 2 of them away. Such an astonishing record could be said to have put great pressure on the entire Bai family. It can also be said that they have trouble sleeping and eating now. Afraid of being beaten for revenge. If that is the case, I'm afraid they really may not win. Did you buy the news? Can you tell me why it's been so many days and I still haven't received any information about that guy? Who is he? Does it mean that even the Golden Silkworm Society doesn't know his origins and identity? Bai Rongcheng was a little angry and kind. His face is very ugly. Ever since it happened, he has been thinking of ways to remedy it. But it's all in vain. Because he couldn't find the Lulan people at all. What worries him even more is that this time, the Bai family can't even get any news. Whenever they send people to the Golden Silkworm Association to buy news, but they are all like a stone sinking into the sea. There was no response at all. This is undoubtedly very bad news. After all, whether the Golden Silkworm Association is unwilling to sell to them, or even the Golden Silkworm Association, or even they don't have specific information about that guy, wouldn't this be even more ruined? Since these days, they are all under tremendous pressure. And now, finally they couldn't bear it anymore. Ready to face the problem. No matter what, this matter must come to an end. Great Elder, I went to the Golden Silkworm Association in person. But they are avoiding us. In short, this matter may be really troublesome. At this moment, someone spoke up. It was another strong person in the early stage of foundation building from the Bai family. Bai Zhengshang. Having said this, he couldn't help but stare at Bai Ziyu fiercely. He said angrily, Bai Ziyu, look what trouble you have caused to my Bai family. You dare to attack others without even understanding it. Are you a fool? You are really a brainless pig. As soon as these words came out, Bai Ziyu's neck felt thick. Get angry. How do I know he is so powerful? He is obviously only in the chi training realm, and I am not the only one. Didn't they do it too? Upon hearing this, Bai Zhengshang was also angry. Ridiculed. What, you're still not convinced? If you're not convinced, why are you hiding here? If you have the ability, go and solve this matter yourself. What did you say? Shut up, Bai Rongcheng scolded. Then he said coldly with a gloomy face. You guys have started to cause civil strife before anyone comes to fight. Okay, is this what you are capable of? Otherwise, we should just stay away now. Let's all do our own thing. When that guy comes over, who will die? Then whoever will die will be fine. What do you think, Bai Ziyu? As soon as this statement came out, Bai Ziyu's face suddenly turned blue and purple. Very ugly, but he still endured it and apologized. I'm sorry, Great Elder. It's my fault. Obviously, of course, he didn't know that he was wrong, but the situation was stronger than the person, and he was afraid. Without the protection of the Bai family, once Lu Lin seeks revenge on him, he may really have no choice but to die. But at this moment, someone spoke again. But it was another strong man from the Bai family who was in the early stages of foundation building. Bai Kanghai. Great Elder, everyone, if you ask me, this matter shouldn't be so serious. He glanced at everyone, narrowed his eyes and said, with 1 against 5, he killed 3 in reverse. I admit that his strength is indeed very powerful, but it should only be around the middle stage of foundation building. Great Elder, your cultivation level is also in the middle stage of foundation building. Can he still be as powerful as you? I don't think so, right? Speaking of this, he changed the topic and said calmly. So, I don't think he dares to come to our Bai family to cause trouble. We should all overestimate him. And even if he does come, it doesn't matter. The 4 of us will take action together, and everyone. Plus our Bai family, we can still kill him, we just need to pay some price. Okay. Hearing his praise, Bai Rongcheng's face looked better. In fact, he felt that the opponent's strength was almost the same as his. In this case, for his sake, it shouldn't be a big problem. It's just that you need to pay some price. Just to calm things down. This should be nothing. Thinking of this, he also breathed a sigh of relief, and then said coldly to Bai Ziyu. Bai Ziyu, you are the one who caused this incident, so you should prepare some gifts yourself. Just treat it as an apology. Is that okay? As soon as he finished speaking, before Bai Ziyu had time to answer. At this time, a sudden change occurred. Boom. Suddenly, the cave door exploded. This is their family's forbidden area, and there are many restrictions, formations, and even the power of spiritual talismans on the gate, but now, it is still as if it is made of paper. Exploded instantly, torn to pieces. Everyone was shocked. Their expressions changed drastically and they became nervous. They all stared at the scene outside the gate. At the same time, footsteps sounded. Ta-ta-ta, tap-ta-ta. Huge pressure swept over them, causing sweat to appear on their faces. His face became serious. They all looked towards the door. In the smoke and dust, 2 figures, a man and a woman, slowly appeared. At this moment, they all felt heavy pressure in their hearts. The pressure was huge. Come on, head on. The man was probably in his early 20s, with shoulder-length black hair, and was wearing ordinary clothes, but the aura and pressure on him was particularly terrifying. There are 5 colored air currents hovering behind him. Those air currents are as powerful as real dragons. Terrible and shocking. Hiss. When seeing this scene, everyone took a breath and became shocked. Then, what is that? Yes, it's you. At this moment, Bai Ziyu's face froze. Instantly, his whole body trembled, and his face was full of panic, because no one else knew who Lu Lin was, but he. Lu Lin's face. I'm afraid he will never forget it in his life. That was the inner demon of his life. Very good. We found the right place. We meet again, Bai Mao. Lu Lin's eyes penetrated the crowd like sharp swords. It fell on the pale Bai Ziyu. You actually dared to come to our Bai family to cause trouble. Do you want to die? Bai Ziyu was trembling all over, and she was extremely scared in her heart, but he still scolded her fiercely, as if he wanted to save himself courage and self-confidence in this way. But at this moment, a roar sounded. Shut up, idiot. Bai Rongcheng glared at Bai Ziyu angrily. Then he looked towards Lu Lin. He forced a smile and said, My descendant, Bai Rongcheng of the Bai family, has met this fellow Taoist. Maybe we had some misunderstandings about what happened before. I think we can actually sit down and talk. Bai Ziyu has indeed offended you, but if the crime is not punishable by death, I can ask him to compensate you. Fellow Taoist, why don't you just give me Bai a face in this matter? I don't know if it's because of Bai Zhengshang's praise of him before. Or maybe he really thinks how much face he can have. They've all already knocked on the door. A misunderstanding, a face. Is this the case? It's a shame he figured it out. Face. Lu Lin sneered and said mockingly. Who do you think you are, your face? Why should I give you face? As soon as these words came out, the expression on Bai Rongcheng's face suddenly froze, and then he saw the expression on his face gradually calm down. Instead, there was a deep coldness. Or murderous intent. It seems that you want to die. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as he finished speaking, the restrictions and formations around the palace suddenly lit up. Spiritual talismans shining with all kinds of brilliance appeared out of thin air, exuding amazing power and instantly surrounded Lu Lin. Such a scene. It was as if it was surrounded instantly. As if to put him to death. And after seeing this scene, Bai Ziyu, who was still a little frightened at first, suddenly felt energetic. Give me your hands and kill him. You dare to come to our Bai family to cause trouble. You are really looking for, wait a minute. What is this? Don't kill me. However, he hasn't finished speaking yet. But suddenly his pupils shrank, his face changed drastically, and he started to sweat, because at this moment, a flying needle flashing with cold air appeared in front of him. And it's not just him. At this time, in front of many people in the cave. This thing has already appeared. It's that ice exploding needle. Not good. Bai Rongcheng's face changed drastically. Then immediately shouted, "Careful, let's do it together and kill him." Boom. In an instant, the huge number of spiritual talismans were like missiles, bombarding Lu Lin and Wenqing indiscriminately. Suddenly a big explosion occurred, and a violent plume of smoke appeared throughout the forbidden cave. But having said that, at this same time, I saw those icy needles floating in midair. They actually started to move. There was a muffled sound. Bai Ziyu was the first to bear the brunt, the core on her forehead. He was penetrated in an instant, and a penetration was made. The huge pressure on the brain caused the blood to surge out immediately, and the blood flowed like a pour. And it's not just this ice explosion thread needle. At the same time, the other ice explosion thread needles also seemed to be flying dragons, and the cold light came out of their sheaths in an instant. Very fast. Then boom, boom, there were several muffled bangs. Appeared almost at the same time. Then I saw corpses one after another. He fell directly to the ground. Killed instantly. This. The faces of Bai Rongcheng and the rest of the Bai family changed wildly. A look of panic and fear swept across their foreheads instantly, and they were simply paralyzed. I can't believe it at all. Forget about the others. Bai Ziyu is a strong foundation builder, but even so, she was killed instantly by one blow, without even the slightest ability to resist. Is that human being? How could he be so powerful? Bai Rongcheng panicked, and so did Bai Zhengshang, Bai Canghai and the others. Although they all knew that Lu Lin's strength was definitely not simple, they still didn't expect that he was so strong. I am afraid, as long as Lu Lin is willing, not everyone here is enough for him to kill. Taoist friend, I'm sorry, it's all misunderstanding. Bai Ziyu is dead, are you calm down, we won't pursue it. Bai Rongcheng said in a trembling voice, but he didn't expect to say the wrong thing. Won't pursue it. The smoke dissipated, and Lu Lin stood there unscathed. He was surrounded by the glittering power of the 5 dragon spirit shield like a vortex. It was these that made him feel fine. He didn't break the defense at all. Hiss. There was a constant intake of breath. Everyone was shocked and unbelievable. So many spiritual talisman powers bombarded, and they were all hit head-on, but now. But there was nothing wrong, not even a broken defense. Could they be dazzled? This, how is this possible? Don't pursue it. Then I think you should pursue it. Lu Lin said lightly, and then raised his hand directly. Scolding. Go. Swish, swish, swoosh. Instantly, the ice explosion needles connected into one piece. It rushed towards Bai Rongcheng like a spear. Very fast. You, don't go too far. Bai Rongcheng's pupils shrank, but he immediately clasped his hands and a glittering disc appeared, and threw it out. With a hum, the disc burst into a strong light, and countless talismans flew out of it. It rushed forward like a machine gun. But it actually hit nothing. As soon as the power of these talismans hit the ice explosion needles, it immediately penetrated as if it had not encountered any obstacles. What? Bai Rongcheng was stunned. Then his face changed drastically, and he was shocked. Illusion. But before he finished speaking, the other people of the Bai family on the other side had already suffered. At some point, the ice explosion needles that disappeared in front of Bai Rongcheng actually began to shuttle through the crowd. Then execute them one by one. Boom, boom, boom. A series of muffled hums sounded. Almost everyone can't even bear the ice blast and a needle. He just fell down. Become a corpse. This thing is really a weapon to torture vegetables. Lu Lin murmured. Although the power of the ice explosion thread needle is not the most powerful in his hands, it is a veritable weapon to torture vegetables. As long as it is below the level of foundation building, or even below the middle stage of foundation building, now it seems that one kill is completely accurate, and it is basically an instant kill. And it's impossible to defend against it. Because it's too insidious. The speed is too fast. So 3 times 5 divided by 2. The other members of the Bai family in the cave. They all look like seedlings in the field. They were all harvested cleanly. Even the other 2 guys who were in the early stages of foundation building were the same. I couldn't even run away. In less than a minute, they were all dead. This scene. And Wenqing, who was following Lu Lin, was completely stunned. Her mouth was open, dumbfounded, and her scalp was numb. Although she was mentally prepared for Lu Lin's strength, the scene in front of her. But it still shocked her heart with infinite shock. It simply ruined her worldview. Okay, so awesome. Why can the Jindan Patriarch be one person? It's because in the world of cultivation, the strong can kill everyone. Do you think that if you have many people, the ants will kill the elephant? Perhaps for those pseudo-powerful people, the human sea tactic is indeed effective, but in front of an almost perfect super genius like Lu Lin, the human sea tactic is scum. You can't penetrate even a 5-dragon spiritual shield, and you can't break the defense, but Lu Lin can instantly kill dozens of pieces with one casual blow. How can this be a slap in the face? It's just massacre. At the same time, Bai Rongcheng collapsed on the ground with a dull face. Some of them looked horrified, and their hair was disheveled, like ghosts. At this moment, he looked at Lu Lin as if he was seeing a devil. It's too strong, how could this happen? His heart almost collapsed. Unexpectedly, the enemy who was expected to be strong in the middle stage of foundation building suddenly transformed into an invincible strong man that was unattainable to him. This gap in the cruelty of reality made him despair. Why? Bai Rongcheng roared, staring at Lu Lin and gritting his teeth. The only one who offended you is Bai Ziyu. Why do you want to massacre our entire Bai family, you devil? You deserve to die. He completely regards you as a victim and has been wronged, but he seems to have forgotten that the one who launched the attack just now was not someone else, but himself. And he, the victim. So, where does his grievance come from? How hypocritical. Lu Lin's face was full of ridicule. Then he waved his hands directly. Pushed out. Boom. In an instant a rocky protrusion rose up like a spear. Instantly penetrated Bai Rongcheng's body. Nailed it in the air. No. Bai Rongcheng's pupils dilated, and then he finally distinguished the big and small kings clearly, and he quickly begged for mercy. Ahem, I'm sorry, please let me go. I don't want to die, don't kill me. You talk too much. Lu Lin shook his head. Almost at the same time. The ice blast is coming. Call out, call out. Phew. A total of 21 flying needles penetrated Bai Rongcheng's body, staring him to death on the ground. In this case, the strongest man of the Bai family. During the middle stage of foundation building, Bai Rongcheng had already died at the hands of Lu Lin. All the way. It's almost crushing. He is not an enemy of Lu Linyi at all. This is revenge. There were some fluctuations in Lu Lin's eyes. Although he killed many more people than expected, he did not regret it, because this is how the world of cultivation is, you kill me and I will kill you. Kindness is impossible. He's not that stupid. And after seeing this scene, and Wenqing's face was complicated, I couldn't help but take a breath of cold air in my heart. Some were shocked and silent, although she is an Yixuan's granddaughter. But I still don't have much experience, and I have never seen such a powerful person who can build a dignified foundation. Thinking of the horrifying scene where they were all killed as pigs, she felt a little lucky. Fortunately, third grandpa did not choose to be Lu Lin's enemy. Otherwise, what will happen to her? I'm afraid they will be like the people of the Bai family in front of me. At this moment, Lu Lin's voice sounded again. Wenqing, go and pack up all their belongings, and look for the Bai family's treasure house as well. And Wenqing was stunned for a moment. Then he nodded immediately. It's the master, Fu Dao family. That's fine. Lu Lin murmured, thinking in his heart. It just so happens that I haven't started watching Xuanluoling Fu Lu yet. I'll go back to Wulongmen in a while. It's just in time to watch it together. As a qualified young man with good time travel cheating skills, his goal is of course not just to become stronger. His goal is to become an all-powerful king. Pills, talismans, formations, puppets, beasts, etc. He can try all of these. Anyway, he has the ability to copy heavenly materials and earthly treasures. It's definitely 1,000 miles. Soon, the wealth of the Bai family. And the trophies on those corpses. They were all collected by Wenqing. As a qualified practitioner, one of the essential skills for everyone is to touch corpses. She may not be able to do other things, but she is definitely extremely skilled at touching corpses. Moving clouds and flowing water. Without him, you are familiar with it. But it is a pity that the spiritual materials that Lu Lin expected were not available. They were just some regular foundation building realm family reserves, plus some foundation building magic weapons, pills, spiritual talismans, cultivation techniques, etc. In this regard, Lu Lin has no interest in most things. Because of these, I'm afraid it's not even as valuable as the few more mid-grade spiritual stones he copied. However, he was quite interested in the Bai family's cultivation techniques, the concentration of talismans, etc. Again, his goal is the Almighty King. Next branch. He was ready to take a look at the Talisman Way. Soon after, they left this place. I saw that the Yunlin speedster in the sky turned into an afterimage. Then he drove towards Langkang Mountain at a very fast speed. A few days later, Chaoyang Palace of Chariot Kingdom. In a certain room of the Golden Silkworm Club. This is obviously a boudoir. The overall style in the room is also biased toward women. At this time, there was a graceful figure resting on the bed, but at this moment, she seemed to be having a nightmare. Ah! A groan-like scream sounded. She stood up suddenly, as if she had been awakened. If you look carefully, she is not Yun Junjun, the foundation building expert of the Golden Silkworm Society. Who is she? At this time, her face was particularly ugly, and she was even a little frightened, because she was a powerful foundation builder. How could it be possible to wake up from such a nightmare? Unless, this is a sign. A visceral warning. Is it because of that guy from back then? Yun Junjun murmured. At the same time, she stretched out her hand, as if to wipe the cold sweat that had not appeared on her forehead. At the same time, Lu Lin's appearance seemed to appear in front of her eyes. Like Wu Yushan, Master Langkang and others, she didn't go to the original battle. Originally, in order to be cautious, she would not get involved in such things. It was nothing more than buying and selling information and betraying information about some customers. In her opinion, this is all harmless. But everything that happened next. But it frightened her. I also regret it very much. After all, she never expected. Lu Lin's strength is actually so powerful, even comparable to the middle stage of foundation establishment. If she had known this was the case, she would never have been stupid enough to sell the other party's information. But now that the matter has come to this, there is nothing she can do about it. She can only pray that the other party does not know these little actions she made. Don't argue with him. It's okay, it should be okay. And I'm a member of the Golden Silkworm Society. Even if he knows, he probably won't come to me. Yun Junjun murmured, then slowly stood up and raised his hand. Her beautiful figure was immediately covered with a thin layer of gauze. Looks particularly charming. Then she stepped forward with a calm face. Went out. There was a squeak. The door opened. There was a large garden inside the house, and there was a pavilion in the garden. Yun Junjun glanced at it casually, and then froze. Crack. It's like a bucket of cold water being poured on your head. You. Yun Junjun's face changed drastically. It was cold from head to toe. It seemed like he froze all of a sudden. She was trembling all over and stared inside the pavilion, because there were two figures there who shouldn't be there at all. She said in a trembling voice. Yes, it's you. It turns out it's not a nightmare. It's a real warning. Lu Lin looked at the frightened Yun Junjun with a half smile but not a smile. Then he said with a smile. Miss Yun, long time no see. Didn't you ask me to come find you? What? Why are you so scared when you see me? As soon as these words came out, Yun Junjun suddenly trembled, and his mentality immediately broke through. As if she couldn't bear the pressure at all, she quickly fell to her knees with a bang. Begging for mercy. Dear fellow Taoist Lu, yes, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I just sold some information about you. This is the rule of our Golden Silkworm Association. I can't help it. I didn't do anything else. Please spare me. She knelt on the ground pitifully. Spring suddenly appeared, so pitiful. But Lu Lin started to laugh a little. The rules of the Golden Silkworm Association. What a rule of the Golden Silkworm Association. But, are you afraid of Jin Canwei but not me? But it's true that you were not afraid of me at the beginning. Then he changed the subject and asked. Let me ask you a question. Are Wu Yushan and Master Na Langkang involved in my matter? Have, Yun Junjun said without hesitation. The private affairs of Langkang Mountain Auction have always been their mastermind. I was just forced, and I couldn't help it. Please, forgive me, I know I was wrong. Thank you for answering me, Miss Yun. Lu Lin smiled mockingly. Then, a beating flame suddenly appeared in front of him. The flame was filled with terrifying high temperatures, as well as the colorful 5-element attributes. As soon as I saw this scene, Yun Junjun became even more frightened. With a shocked face, he begged frantically for mercy. I'm sorry, please let me go, please, I can atone for my sins, I can do anything, please. Before the words fell, sounds of piercing the air came from behind, and in a split second, more than 10 ice blasts penetrated her body. He killed him on the spot, and then slowly fell to the ground. Become a corpse. Do you know you're wrong? I don't think so. You just knew you were going to die, so you were afraid. Looking at Yun Junjun's corpse, Lu Lin sneered, and then he stood up directly. The flames in front of his eyes dispersed instantly, as if a spark of fire surrounded him. He is extremely handsome. Let's go, rob this golden silkworm club first. There should be a lot of good things here, and then go find other people. They don't know I'm coming, so they probably won't run away. He still lacks water attribute and fire attribute spiritual materials. So he put hope. I am placing my trust in the Golden Silkworm Association in front of me, even though it is only a branch. But after all, it is a multinational chamber of commerce force, so if you are lucky, maybe it will give him a surprise. So next, he directly robbed the entire Golden Silkworm Association branch in Kenyan City. Just loot them all, and then start a new round of searching. Logically speaking, the Blood Spirit Sect branch should be located in Kenyan City. But the place was found, yes, but the person was not found. Both Wu Yushan and Zhang Yuan seemed to have disappeared from the world and were neither here. Did he run away? Lu Lin's face looked a little ugly. He came here specifically to take revenge. If he ran away and was not here, that would be embarrassing. Master, maybe they are in Langkang Mountain. And Wenqing said, his eyes twinkling. If it is not within Kenyan City, there is only one possibility, and that is Langkang Mountain. Otherwise, it really is not here. Go and see. Lu Lin nodded, and then directly destroyed the Blood Spirit Sect branch, killing everyone. He burned it with a fire, and then headed toward Langkang Mountain as quickly as possible. At the same time, in the mansion of Master Langkang in Langkang Mountain, Wu Yushan, Zhang Yuan, and Master Langkang are all here. It turns out that since they found Zheng Diwan, they have not cared much about or interfered with Lu Lin's affairs, because Zheng Diwan took over, and for them, Lu Lin must be dead. They are too lazy to waste any more time on this. Just in case, they decided to stick together for a while first. In this way, if Lu Lin really broke the pot, come to them to take revenge. They are not alone either, thus being defeated one by one. But just today, they suddenly realized something was wrong. With a whoosh, a bloody light swept from the sky and rushed straight into Master Langkang's mansion. Falling in front of Wu Yushan's expression immediately changed. Then grab it, torn apart, boom, what's going on? What happened? A voice came, and Zhang Yuan looked at Wu Yushan with a solemn expression. Even a little nervous, because he knows that bloody light, that's their Blood Spirit Sect's communication talisman. And, unless it is an emergency, this thing is generally not used. In other words, I'm afraid something is wrong. At this moment, Wu Yushan's face darkened. He said through gritted teeth. Something happened in Kenyan City. Kenyan City. Zhang Yuan was stunned for a moment. And then his face changed drastically. He was shocked. Elder Wu, could it be? I don't know who it is, but someone attacked the Kenyan City branch. And the opponent is very strong. Many of our people were killed in seconds before they even saw who the opponent was. Who is it? Boom. Wu Yushan was furious. An astonishing momentum burst out. Formed a bloody light that was extremely creepy. Astonishing. However, at this moment, something changed suddenly. Boom, 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 boom. Suddenly, there seemed to be bursts of sonic booms in the sky. And it was coming from far away, as if it was approaching rapidly. Immediately, Wu Yushan and Zhang Yuan, their pupils shrank. Their faces changed drastically. Then they quickly raised their heads, looking up at the sky. Then they all took a breath of cold air. Shocked. Hiss. Is that the Foundation building flying car? No. Elder Wu's car seems to be the Yunlin flying car of Haoran sect. Is it him? Zhang Yuan trembled all over and exclaimed. Because he had recognized it. The thing in the sky that was approaching them at a high speed. It should be the Yunlin flying car that was auctioned off at the auction before. In other words, is it really that guy who is coming to kill him? How dare he? Old man Wu. Suddenly, an anxious voice came. At the same time, a powerful figure rushed out of the mansion. Looking more carefully, who else could it be if it wasn't Master Lankang? Obviously, he also noticed something was wrong. And he also found out that there was actually an enemy coming to the door. Be careful, that's the Yunlin flying car. It should be that guy who came. Wu Yushan said with a serious face. But he was also a little confused, but why would he come? That guy Zheng Diwan, didn't he go to find him yet? What on earth is he doing? I know, I sold that Yunlin flying car myself. How could I not recognize it? It must be him, old man Wu. I've asked people to drive out those corpses. Now it's up to you. He actually dared to come. Humph, he's really looking for death. Today, we must make sure he never comes back. Let him know how powerful we are. Shangren Lankang said coldly. And there was even some madness in his eyes. Corpse. What is that? But after hearing what he said, Wu Yushan's face also became obviously confident. And confident. Then, he also sneered. Haha. Then he waved his hand. Act. Get ready. Kill him. Boom. At the same time, a muffled sound came from the sky. And everyone looked up and saw that it was the Yunlin flying car in the sky, which had stopped in midair. Stopped in the sky. Just wait for me here. At this time, in the Yunlin flying car, Lu Lin said lightly to An Wenqing beside him, and then he saw him stepping on the railing on the side of the deck and flipping over. He jumped directly from above. Swish. With a swish sound, Lu Lin had already turned into a rainbow light and fell from the sky. He flew directly to the sky above the residence of the Lankang master at a very fast speed. At the same time, he also grinned directly, because fortunately, he finally found someone. Long time no see, everyone. Lu Lin greeted with a smile, and at the same time, his eyes fell directly on Zhang Yuan, who had changed his face and was already panicked. Very good. Wei Shanmin, Lin Feng, and Ouyang Lai, they died long ago. Bai Ziyu some time ago, he also died. And now, only this person is left to complete the work. Revenge is not delayed, and his current strength is enough. So these 5 people must be in good order. No one must be missing, all must die. But at this moment, he suddenly seemed to notice it. And then he frowned slightly. What is that? So strange, could it be a person? Lu Lin looked in a certain direction, his eyes flickered, and his face was a little strange. Because his spiritual power had already captured that in that direction, there were a large number of strange things. Slowly approaching them. Forget it, let's strike first. He murmured in his heart. And then he waved his hand and started to act. Boom. In an instant, the flames rolled, and a huge flame appeared out of thin air, and then it was strangely stretched. Gradually extending. To the end, these flames even evolved into a huge dragon of flames. It also suddenly raised the temperature around. The flames flickered and danced in the air, rolling towards Master Lankang, Wu Yushan and others at their feet. Not good. Wu Yushan's face changed, but he also reacted the fastest and took action directly. You ignorant brat, today, we are going to take your life. He murmured. There was a fierce glint in his eyes. Then, I saw him taking a deep breath. Suddenly, the spiritual energy in his entire body seemed to surge, entering a violent and boiling mode. Then he danced quickly with his hands. A streak of blood shot out instantly, turned into a bloody awl. He hit the flame dragon very quickly. Blood Spirit Diamond. Blood Spirit Diamond, the Blood Spirit sect's famous attack method, is extremely lethal and is among the top 5 of the Blood Spirit sect's major offensive spells and magical powers. Moreover, the attack methods used by Zheng Diwan some time ago. The only one is this Blood Spirit Diamond. However, Even the blood spirit diamond used by a strong person like Zheng Diwan in the late stage of foundation building couldn't do anything to Lu Lin, let alone him who was only in the middle stage of foundation building. Ba, 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 ba. In an instant, the blood spirit diamond and the flame dragon were entangled together, erupting with a harsh burning sound. And it's almost visible to the naked eye. I saw the blood spirit diamond used by Wu Yushan. It was actually beginning to melt by the flame dragon. How can it be? This is impossible. Wu Yushan's pupils shrank and his face changed wildly. You must know that even ordinary late-stage foundation establishment experts would not dare to use his blood spirit diamond. Not to mention being burned and melted from the front like this. To him, this was simply incredible. And this even gave him a premonition of something bad. Is this really the strength of the middle stage of foundation building? However, how could it be so strong in the middle stage of foundation building? Are you kidding me? But at this moment, another attack headed towards Lu Lin. But it was Master Langkang who took action. There was a muffled sound. I saw a dark green light flying out of Master Langkang's body in an instant, and then turned into a rainbow light, shooting towards Lu Lin very quickly. If you look closely, you will see that it is a vine that looks like a branch. From flying out of Master Langkang's body, to rushing into the sky, and fighting to the willow forest. During this period of time, less than 5 seconds have passed at most. And at this time, the vine has suddenly transformed. Turned into a tree man with countless vines spreading out. It rolled directly towards the willow forest. At the same time, there are countless branches and spikes appearing on these vines. There were countless sharp thorns that were extremely cold and sharp, and they all headed towards Lu Lin. Immediately, both Master Langkang and Wu Yushan's pupils shrank. Everyone gets excited. It's done. Very well, kill him. However, at the same time, Lu Lin just shook his head. Smiling disdainfully. Is it a natal magic weapon? I have to say that the natal magic weapon in front of me does look quite bluffing. But actually, compared with Zheng Diwan's blood sword, the power of this thing is still far behind. It's not even on the same level at all. In that case, let me give you a greeting gift first. Lu Lin murmured, and then in his eyes, streaks of metallic spiritual energy like flames began to appear in his pupils. These metallic aura powers, it was only the size of a pinhead at the beginning, but then it grew rapidly. It also burned like a raging flame. Finally, it swept through the 8 wastelands and swallowed up the world. The attributes of the 5 elements are mutually reinforcing and inhibiting each other. Therefore, the best way to deal with this thing that is obviously a wood-attributed natal magic weapon in front of us is of course the metal of gold defeats wood. Golden Dragon Fire. Boom. In an instant, metallic flames erupted. A prairie fire broke out in an instant. The majestic and surging flames immediately engulfed those vines. Moreover, he even caught up quickly. Just for a second or two, I saw the tree man who was originally majestic. At this time, it was completely burned. Screaming in agony. Woo, woo, woo. Wah, what? The smile on Master Langkang's face instantly solidified on his face. In just a short moment, his face was filled with shock, horror, regret, and an incredible look. Because he also realized that something was wrong. Even though they both thought they overestimated each other's strength. But I didn't expect that. It's still underestimated. Burning blood spiritual diamond. Burn his natal magic weapon. Is this really something that can be done with the strength in the middle stage of foundation building? This is simply impossible. However, at this moment, a sharp pain suddenly hit him. He immediately screamed and vomited blood. PFF'd. At the same time, the golden dragon fire in the sky suddenly exploded, and the tree man in it, or his natal magical weapon, had also been burned. It exploded directly. No, Master Langkang roared. His face instantly turned pale and his whole body trembled. For someone like him who is in the middle stage of foundation building, the natal magical weapon is definitely the most important and strongest combat power. But now, his magical weapon was actually blown up by Lu Lin. What was the difference between this and chopping off his hand? Just this one thing. It was enough to make his strength plummet. Lost heavily. More importantly, the loss of the natal magic weapon will also bring a lot of backlash to him. This is also the only flaw of the natal magic weapon, that is, one can achieve both prosperity and success. If one loses, both will suffer. Once something happens to the natal magic weapon, it is also a huge blow to practitioners. You might even get hurt. But just when he was filled with anger, even when there is some weakness and despair, from the side, there was suddenly a panicked roar. Lang Kang, what are you doing? Be careful, careful. Master Lang Kang's pupils shrank, his face changed drastically, and his whole body was suddenly shocked. However, when he reacted, several of them had already appeared in front of him. More than a dozen flying needles shining with the color of frost. Flying needle, it's over. His expression changed drastically, and he quickly wanted to fight back, but it was still a step too late. In an instant, like pear blossom needles in a rainstorm, a mere 21 ice exploding needles formed a formation of hundreds or even thousands. He pierced it directly. Here comes the front and back piercing. Killed on the spot. In an instant, Master Lang Kang, the master of Lang Kang Mountain and a strong man in the middle stage of foundation building, died. Not good. Wu Yushan's pupils shrank and his face changed wildly. But he seemed to suddenly discover it in the next second. Then his eyes suddenly burst out with a strong light, as if he saw hope. Boom. Then he saw his figure flashing, running very fast in a certain direction, and at this time, his whole body seemed to be stained with a thick layer of blood, making him move much faster than normal. It's the art of escape. It is the blood escape technique of the blood spirit sect. Want to run. Lu Lin's face darkened, but he didn't catch up immediately because he knew that speed was still his weakness at the moment. If I don't catch up, won't I be exposed? So he simply slapped Zhang Yuan on the other side before he could escape. Suddenly there seemed to be several deafening dragon roars. The power of the 5 elements, the 5 dragon palms. Boom, boom, roar. In an instant, the spiritual energy of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth appeared, instantly transforming into a 5-color python. It was dozens of meters huge, like 5 fingers, pressing down on Zhang Yuan. Boom. Then there was only a loud noise, and suddenly the whole ground seemed to be hit by artillery fire. It shook all of a sudden, as if there was a big earthquake, the ground shook and the mountains shook, deafening. When all this is over, those buildings and caves on the original earth, at this time, it has been destroyed. They were all razed. Instead, there was a huge palm print that even exuded a terrifying heat wave. And what about Zhang Yuan below? Of course it is already a place of death without burial. It was directly crushed. Done. Lu Lin clapped her hands, very satisfied. Although one person ran away, it was only one person who ran away, which is not a loss at all. And more importantly, it seems like the other party hasn't run away yet. But Lu Lin's eyes flashed, and then he flew into the air, flying towards a certain direction outside the ruins, but as soon as he took off, his expression immediately changed. His eyes also narrowed, because Wu Yushan did not run away. And more importantly, Lu Lin, I want you to die. A roar came, and Wu Yushan flew in the sky with disheveled hair, gnashing his teeth at Lu Lin. At this time, there were indeed hundreds of people behind him. Or the Walking Dead. At a glance, it was obvious that those guys were all human beings, but their eyes were numb, their movements were slow, their bodies were covered in injuries, and they were as stiff as zombies. But at this moment, Wu Yushan suddenly waved his hand, and countless bloody lights flew out of his body, killing those people. Soon, blood sputtered out, everyone fell down, and blood flowed all over the ground. But at this moment, dazzling bloody lights suddenly appeared on the ground, as if they were dyed red by the blood, extremely charming. It's also extremely penetrating. Hooray! Lu Lin murmured, feeling a little wary in his heart. It seems that this should be the opponent's trump card. I just don't know what the power is. Just as he was thinking this, he saw Wu Yushan, not far away, wave his hand again. This time, there were dozens of blood-red, doll-like things. They flew towards all sides of the formation at once. Call out, call out, call out. As soon as this scene occurs, Lu Lin was stunned for a moment, because he knew the thing wasn't it the original foundation building vampire. It's just that there was only one foundation building vampire at the beginning, but now there are more than 20 of these foundation building vampires. I see. It seems like this is your trump card. Lu Lin murmured, a cold light flashing deep in his eyes. Let's not talk about the power and process, but this thing makes him sick just looking at it. Based on this, the old thing in front of him must die. Not to mention, if it were to be replaced by other ordinary late-stage foundation-building powerhouses, they might actually be overturned by these disgusting things. Anyway, too many ants will bite the elephant to death. There are more than 20 foundation-building vampires. Plus Wu Yushan is in the middle stage of foundation building. Such a combination is indeed quite powerful. But unfortunately, is he ordinary? He is really extraordinary. Boom. Then he took action directly. I saw streaks of 5-color brilliance of gold, wood, water, fire, and earth blooming from Lu Lin, and these powers also evolved into various flame patterns just like the previous golden dragon fire. Began to burn brightly. Amazing power. According to his experience, the best thing to deal with these foundation-building vampires is the power of thunder and fire. This thing is a killer to them. But it doesn't matter if there isn't, as long as there is fire, it's the same thing. Thunder, fire, drive away all evil, especially his flame power, which is a fusion of the 5 elements, is even more heavenly. This is even worse than the original power of thunder and fire. How can this be? Is this the power of the 5 elements? You are actually a 5 elements monk. When seeing this scene, Wu Yushan, who was originally very arrogant and confident, was instantly stunned. He was even sweating profusely and his face was full of panic. After all, he is also a veteran mid-stage foundation building expert, so he naturally knows. Why are the 5 elements of spiritual energy in the way of the 5 elements called the waste spirit aperture? Will it be called the weakest way of cultivation? It's not because they are really weak. It's because the way of the 5 elements is too difficult. The difficulty of its cultivation can be said to be as difficult as climbing to the sky. There are not many people who can do it, so they are stigmatized. To put it bluntly, they are sour. In fact, as far as he knows, the 5 elements is the strongest. All monks who can learn the 5 elements are among the best, and they are all super geniuses. And there is one of the more typical ones. That is the Yuan dynasty. Why was the Yuan dynasty so powerful? This is because, in the Yuan dynasty, they were synonymous with 5 elements monks. When I think of this, Wu Yushan's hand was instantly filled with fear. If he had known this, he would never be stupid enough to stay here and wait for death, he would definitely run away. He ran away directly. Just let Lu Lin find him. But what now? The matter has come to this, there is nothing we can do. He can only fight. Hi! Wu Yushan suddenly roared. His hands formed a strange seal. At the same time, his body began to become motionless. Streams of blood began to shoot out from his body. Especially when those powers appeared, they were swallowed up by the formation at their feet, as if they were swallowed and absorbed. At the same time, a rumbling roar sounded. The entire formation started to move. Amazing momentum. Although he is desperate, he is not completely desperate yet. Because his vampire-killing formation is not ordinary. There are more than 20 foundation-building vampires, and with the power of the formation, even the strong ones in the late stage of foundation building may be killed. Therefore, he still has hope. Lu Lin, I'm going to kill you. Go to hell, he roared angrily, and at the same time, the formation under his feet began to change completely. Next, there were harsh sounds. Weird cries sounded, and ghosts cried and wolves howled with resentment. In an instant, those foundation-building vampires seemed to be going crazy, and they turned into streaks of blood. Attacking and killing madly towards Lu Lin. The entire area of several hundred meters in radius seemed to have turned into a ghost in an instant. But for this, Lu Lin simply released all his current strength. 5 dragon spins, he murmured, and 5 huge and colorful pythons appeared directly behind him out of thin air. Moreover, as soon as these giant pythons appeared, they immediately overwhelmed the ghostly atmosphere in all directions. The surging power of the 5 elements was like a bright sun, instantly dissolving the disgusting blood ghost power. Once this scene appeared, the winner was immediately determined. This is impossible. Wu Yushan's whole body softened. His face turned pale in an instant. Obviously at this moment, he was really a little desperate. How is it possible? Why is the gap so big? At this moment, the slaughter of the 5 dragons began. Roar! 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 In an instant, the roar of the dragon roar came, and 5 giant pythons killed like real dragons, crossing the sky. Catch one by one the foundation building blood ghosts. Although it is the number that causes qualitative change, these 20-odd foundation-building blood ghosts are obviously not enough for these 5 dragons to fill the teeth. One round passed, there are 5. Another round passed, there are 10. This is just like food on the table, at the mercy of others. It's over, it's over. Wu Yushan trembled, his face full of despair. He knew it was over, it was really over. The most powerful thing about the 5 elements cultivators is that they have no flaws. So it's hard to crush them with numbers alone. Just like now, many foundation-building blood ghosts can't even break the defense of those 5 elements power pythons. Instead, they are killed one by one. In this case, it's only a matter of time before they collapse. It won't last long at all. No, I have to run. Wu Yushan was anxious and wanted to run, but this time, he didn't have a chance. Where do you want to go? A sneer came, and in an instant, countless ice blasts and needles came like an overwhelming rainstorm, nailing him to the ground in an instant, and blood spattered. But he's not dead yet, he's still alive. No, don't kill me. Kill me, and the blood spirit sect won't let you go. Wu Yushan roared, his face twisted. But it's not a beg for mercy, but a threat. Why do you always like to talk such useless nonsense? Lu Lin flew over and kicked him out with a whip, which instantly exploded his head. There was a dull thud. It exploded like a watermelon, and the bloody brain shot out, staining the ground red. Now he is finally really dead. Lu Lin glanced at the corpse in front of him with some disgust, and then with a bang, the spiritual energy on his body flashed and melted instantly. Cleansed away the filth from the body. Logically speaking, he wouldn't dare to do this. A little dirty. But this kick is still pretty cool. With a bang, his head exploded. One for each foot. Boom. Then he stretched out his hand, and the spiritual energy rolled. Suddenly, rays of light quickly swept away all the treasures in Wu Yushan's storage bags. After getting the loot, Lu Lin also flew up directly. At the same time, he also controlled the power of the 5 dragon transformations in the sky to get rid of the remaining foundation-building vampires one by one. Hey, what a bunch of beasts. Lu Lin sighed and cursed. I was in a good mood. But after seeing these disgusting things, I really can't feel better. Although the Great Path is ruthless, the methods of these demonic and evil blood spirit sect members, it did still make him feel a little uncomfortable. What a bunch of beasts. Then Lu Lin waved to Yunline's speedster in the sky. Boom. Suddenly there was a flash of light. The sound of breaking through the sky sounded, and the Yunline speedster descended quickly. And Wenqing is already standing at the highest point on the deck. The old rules are Wenqing. Dig down and dig deep. Take away all the treasures you can find. If you can find spiritual materials, that would be the best. Hurry up and start. Lu Lin said. Then he started searching everywhere. For him, wealth or not, treasure or not, spiritual stone or not, these are not important. What is important is, he is in urgent need of spiritual materials with water and fire attributes to fill his last 2 vacancies. As long as the things are done, he can run to Wulong Gate and stay there forever. By then, 3 or 4 years at most, his 5 dragon souls can definitely break through to the red level. 10 or 20 years at most, his 5 dragon souls will definitely be able to break through to the golden level of Dzogchen. As long as the 5 dragon souls are full, even the ancestor of the golden pill, he is not afraid either. That's how confident you are. The only thing that's a bit of a headache is that, so far, no news from spiritual materials. The previous Heron Mountain Bai family had disappointed him. There is also the previous Golden Silkworm Association, Canyon City branch. He was disappointed there too. None of them have spiritual material. Therefore, this Langkang Mountain is his only hope. If it doesn't exist here, there's nothing we can do about it. Then he can only go back to Qingyan North first. Let's go back to Wulongmen to think of a solution first. But fortunately, God still opened his eyes occasionally, and soon, under the scanning of his spiritual power, he found a secret base buried deep underground. Boom. With a loud noise, the door full of powerful restrictions was blasted open by Lu Lin with a slap. Suddenly, the brilliance of the treasures and creatures blinded Lu Lin and Wenqing's eyes. Here is, there are so many. And Wenqing opened her mouth with surprise on her face. The scale of the treasures in front of you is simply piled up like a mountain. It was completely beyond her imagination. But then she seemed to realize something. Then his eyes flashed and he said, I understand, this should be because the Langkang Mountain auction has just ended, and these items from the Golden Silkworm Association haven't had time to be shipped to the headquarters. You said this is something from the Golden Silkworm Society? Lu Lin asked curiously. That should be right. And Wenqing nodded and explained. Master Langkang is an important figure in the Golden Silkworm Association. Especially the Langkang Mountain auction that takes place every 10 years will bring huge wealth to the Golden Silkworm Association. Therefore, this should be the treasure house of the Golden Silkworm Association. Wrong. Then why? Lu Lin said subconsciously. He wanted to ask why he hadn't seen many of the things here at previous auctions. But as soon as he opened his mouth, he suddenly realized that this was a very stupid question. After all, who keeps their underwear hanging out all day long? Isn't that an idiot? Hiding is normal. Human nature is like this. Then he immediately took action. Treasure house, treasure house. I'm here. Lulin dives in to look for it. He's not interested in other things. He only wants spiritual materials, so please. Hey, I found it. Great job. Soon, a sparkling bloody lotus appeared in Lulin's spiritual power. This thing looked like it was refined, but it was actually blood red all over, as if it were a flame. Constantly burning and beating, filled with astonishing temperature. And it's even a little chilling, as if it's not fire, but low temperature. It feels like this thing is a bit evil. Yes, it is evil. What the hell is this? Why does this look like it's not a good thing? Lu Lin murmured, owner, and Wenqing on the side was also a little surprised, and her expression changed. Shocked. This seems to be the legendary Blood Demon Fire Lotus. Blood Demon Fire Lotus. Lu Lin glanced at her and asked. Tell me, what is this? Yes, and Wenqing took a deep breath. Then he said. The Blood Demon Fire Lotus, it is said that this is a sacred object of the demonic path that only grows in the land irrigated by demonic blood. And in this Blood Demon Fire Lotus, it also contains extremely terrifying demonic power, especially for the demonic monks. This level power is absolutely priceless. She paused after saying this. Then some looked at Lu Lin with solemn expressions. Master, we seem to be in trouble. Blood Demon Fire Lotus, this thing is even more valuable than Huang Yun Magic Iron. If the Golden Silkworm Society or even the Blood Spirit Sect finds out that we took away the Blood Demon Fire Lotus, I'm afraid something bad will happen. Something bad happened. Are you scared? Lu Lin looked indifferent, even a little disdainful. He sneered. What he needed most now was spiritual materials. I'm lucky enough to find one, so this is a happy event. What a happy event. Not good. Then he directly swept away the Blood Demon Fire Lotus in front of him. Then he wandered around again. As expected, there are so many treasures here, such as elixirs, spiritual talismans, formation flags, puppet magic weapons, heavenly and earthly treasure elixir materials, as well as low-grade spiritual stones, medium-grade spiritual stones, etc. It's completely piled up. Grab a big piece. But in the end, Lu Lin only had a few things left in front of him. A talisman that shines with blood color, a fist-sized blue steel sword, a mirror full of patina, and a brick that shines with black gold. And another half-shaped axe. This seems to be a spiritual talisman. Lu Lin picked up the talisman and felt it. Suddenly he felt a familiar feeling. Blood Spirit Diamond. That's right, the one sealed in this spiritual talisman should be the one he had come into contact with twice before. The Blood Spirit Sect's signature attack method, the Blood Spirit Diamond. And according to his inference, the power of the Blood Spirit Diamond sealed in the talisman in front of you should be around the late stage of foundation building. It can be considered an unusual trump card. But it's a pity that it's of little use to him. It's not even as powerful as his own 5-dragon transformation. So he threw this thing directly to Wenqing, who was aside. Take this thing. Also, there seems to be a lot of foundation building pills and blood spirit pills here. Take them all and use them. I know you have an ice-type heavenly spirit aperture. It shouldn't be difficult for you to build a foundation, right? It's better to build the foundation early. If you want to stay with me, your chi training realm is too weak. Thank you, Master. And Wenqing immediately put away the Blood Spirit Diamond Talisman and said without hesitation. Master, don't worry, Building a foundation is not difficult for me. Give me a few days and I can do it. That's good. Lu Lin nodded. Then he looked at the other objects in front of him. Long sword, mirror, and bricks. He could tell these three things at a glance. They should be foundation building magic tools. They were similar to his ice explosion thread needle. It's just that he already has a needle for ice explosion. And that feeling of sneaking up on someone unprepared. He also likes it very much. So he doesn't really want to use another foundation building magic weapon, just this ice explosion thread needle. That's enough. But after thinking for a moment, his eyes fell on the black gold colored tiles. Is this a brick? Lu Lin murmured, but of course he also knew that it was just a resemblance. Then he took it in his hand and held it, swung it violently and smashed it a few times, feeling the feel in the hand, and suddenly he felt very good. At the same time, he was also somewhat interested. This thing seems to be okay. Looking at the bricks in his hands, Lu Lin murmured. He knew that among the treasures with 5 elements attributes, metallic ones always had the highest attack power and damage. So from this point of view, it seems that this thing is really okay. Well, since you are destined to me, it's you. Lu Lin took it into his pocket without hesitation, preparing to find time to sacrifice it. As for the other foundation building magic weapons, forget it. He's not very interested. At this moment, and Wenqing on the side suddenly said, Master, do you know what this thing is? Lu Lin was stunned for a moment and followed An Wenqing's gaze. Then he noticed that what the other person was looking at was probably that strange half-axe. And, next, after he looked carefully for a few times, his pupils suddenly condensed, somewhat surprised. What is this thing? Although he didn't know what it was, his intuition told him. This thing seems unusual. Master, this seems to be a talisman. At this moment, An Wenqing said in shock, staring at the half-axe in front of him. Fu Bao. Lu Lin was stunned for a moment and asked, what is a talisman? Master, don't you know about talismans? An Wenqing looked at Lu Lin in surprise. But she didn't think much about it, she just explained. Master, the talisman is a magic weapon that failed to be refined, and then it may be cast into a powerful treasure second only to the magic weapon. Magic weapon. Lu Lin was stunned for a moment. Then my heart skipped a beat and I was shocked. He didn't know about the talisman, but he knew about the magic weapon. The upgraded version of the foundation building magic weapon, the Golden Elixir Ancestors magic weapon, is the magic weapon. No, why does this have anything to do with Jindan again? But he reacted quickly. A key word in An Wen's words. Refining failed. That's right. An Wenqing nodded and said with twinkling eyes. It is said that the refining of magic weapons is extremely difficult. If the weapon refining master does not personally take action, the success rate is even less than 1%. You can imagine what this concept is. Master, you should know that the raw materials for refining magic weapons, they are all top-notch treasures such as spiritual materials. Once they fail, the losses will be huge. Especially a large number of continuous failures, such losses. Even the ancestor of Jindan couldn't bear it. Quote. So later, a plan gradually emerged to turn waste into treasure, and that was the talisman treasure. And Wenqing paused, a flash of memory seemed to flash in his eyes. Then he spoke again, saying, when the magic weapon fails to be refined, depending on its progress, if it can meet certain standards, it can be turned into treasure and forged into a talisman. It is said that this is a method of the way of talismans, so it is named a talisman. Hearing this, Lu Lin was also surprised. So this is a half-disabled magic weapon? I guess so. And Wenqing nodded and explained. But it is a failed product after all. Its power is completely incomparable to that of a real talisman. Generally speaking, the maximum lethality of a talisman should only be around the great perfection of foundation building. Even the power of most talismans is only slightly stronger than that of the late stage of foundation building, the gap is still very large. I see. Lu Lin nodded suddenly. Then he looked at An Wenqing with some surprise and asked, Wenqing, how do you know so much about this? If An Yixuan said these words, he would think it was natural. After all, he was a powerful late-stage foundation building expert and had seen a lot. It was natural for him to know these things. Even though An Wenqing was an ice-type heavenly spiritual orifice, she was still only a qi training realm after all. With her cultivation level, she actually knew so much. This is a bit strange. And Wenqing's face froze when she heard this. And then her eyes flickered, as if she was hesitating about something. But then, she gritted her teeth and said, because our family also has talismans. Saying, she even stretched out her hand, and with a flash of light, something like the claw of a beast appeared in his hand. Although this thing looks a bit strange, but after careful observation, you can actually feel that these two things should indeed be of the same category, they should indeed belong to the same category of talismans. Suddenly Lu Lin couldn't help but look at him with a strange look on his face. And Wenqing looked a little uneasy in front of her. In fact, as early as when Wenqing was able to produce spiritual materials such as the Wushang Dharma leaf, he felt a little strange. After all, he was only in the realm of qi training. Want to take it, shouldn't Yixuan take it? And now this so-called talisman comes out. It further confirmed his idea. This woman and Wenqing. There is a problem and a secret. But he just curled his lips and didn't ask any more questions. After all, there are problems and secrets. Who doesn't? When it comes to secrets, he doesn't accept anyone. After all, he is cheating. Who can compare to this? How powerful is this thing of yours? How big is it? Then he glanced at the half-axe in front of him, cleared the claws in Wen's hand, and asked, Master, the lethality of my talisman is a little more powerful than that of ordinary late-stage foundation building warriors. But currently, my talisman should only have 2 chances to use it. 2 chances. Lu Lin was stunned for a moment and said in surprise, is there a limit to the number of times this thing can be used? Yes. And Wenqing nodded and said with twinkling eyes, it seems like it's because of the method of talismans. These talismans also inherit some characteristics of the Tao of talismans. Each talisman has a number of uses. Among them, if you have a few talismans, you only have 1 chance at least. If there are many, it is said that it should only be used 3 or 4 times, right? I see. Lu Lin nodded. Then he looked at the axe talisman in his hand. If calculated this way, according to his calculation, the power of the axe magic weapon in front of him seems to be a little stronger than Wenqing's one. But not much. Therefore, this should be slightly stronger than the all-out attack in the later stage of foundation building. I just don't know which one is stronger or weaker compared to his 5-dragon spin. But it doesn't make much sense anymore. After all, he can always use the 5-dragon transformation, and this thing can only be used once or twice. It is okay to use it for occasional sneak attacks. In normal combat, it is completely useless to him. But of course it's not because Fu Bao is weak. It's because his 5-spirit transporting technique is so powerful. In fact, it would be really unbelievable to have such a talisman creature that can threaten the strong ones in the late stage of foundation building. Just look at Wuji Gate and you will know. If Yixuan is gone, they are a piece of shit. Then he continued, put everything away, it's time to go. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Lin put the foundation building magic tools, talismans, etc. in front of him with a whoosh. Take them all away. Sweep away. But he still didn't bother to take the other ones. After all, he is really not short of money. Me. And Wenqing looked at Lu Lin in shock. Obviously, I really didn't expect to hear such words. After all, the mountains of wealth in front of me are really too much. Give all these to her. Is this really fake? Let you take it. It's not for you, do you understand? Lu Lin glanced at her. Said lightly, hurry up, we need to go. Let her take it away. And Wenqing stared at Lu Lin blankly. She was not stupid either. She always felt that Lu Lin was not telling the truth. But she did not dare to ask any more questions and just quickly took out a bunch of storage bags. Store treasures. Pack up all the treasures in front of you. All taken away. Then they left here quickly. Embark on the Yunlin speedster. It flew straight towards Qingyan North in the southwest. At the same time, Lu Lin, who was full of enthusiasm, quickly jumped into the room. He immediately started the diligent mode, preparing to raise his fire soul to the next level. By then, once his fire spirit breaks through to the orange level. That's 4 full orange levels. By then his strength will inevitably rise. Stronger. Of course it would be even more fun. Ha ha ha. At the same time, looking at the door of Lu Lin's room, which almost immediately rushed into the room and started to retreat. And Wenqing's face was obviously complicated, as if feeling a little emotional. Perhaps third grandpa is right, wealth is all rubbish. One's own strength, this is eternity. The golden silkworms would pile up like mountains, and Lu Lin would not even look at the wealth like gold mountains and silver mines. It seems like he has no interest at all. Perhaps. Is this why he is so strong and powerful? And Wenqing silently clenched her fist. Murmured, no, I have to build the foundation as soon as possible. I can't hold back any longer. A few days later, a figure arrived at Langkang Mountain very quickly, but it was a woman in palace clothes who looked quite elegant. But when she saw the mess in front of her, he suddenly became cold-faced. His face changed drastically. No wonder I haven't replied yet. I didn't expect something really happened. She murmured, and then as if she suddenly thought of something, her pupils shrank and her face changed wildly. Not good. Boom, she turned into a bloody light. She quickly ran towards the entrance of the underground treasure house not far away. Not long after, when she saw the messy door of the treasure house and the empty treasure house in front of her, she immediately softened all over, and couldn't hold it anymore. It's over, it's over. Something big has happened. The blood demon fire lotus that the ancestor wanted is gone. Who did it? Who on earth? Ah! More than half a month later. Qingyunbei, Zigyu. Zigyu is the country closest to the north in the entire Qingyunbei, that is to say, as long as you cross here, it basically belongs to the territory of Kangzhou. And if you return here, it means that you have returned to the territory of Qingyunbei. The territory of Zigyu is very small. It is even inferior to Xuanchengguo, where Lulin went to garrison Ningping Peak, and is only about 2/3 of its size. At the same time, the terrain of Zigyu is also very complex, with many mountains. And all kinds of harsh natural environments, such as hills, rift valleys, deep mountains, dense forests, etc., countless. In addition, there are a series of poisonous and dangerous existences here. For example, swamps, miasma cold pools, poisonous snakes and beasts, etc., so the population conditions here are even worse. Scarce. Almost only 1/10 of Xuanchen country, less than. You can imagine what this concept is. Not to mention, the war between the 5 major forces in Qingyun North and the Blood Spirit sect in Kangzhou. They have also reached an extremely intense stage of war. As the most direct border between the two places, Xi country has now become a hot place for the war between the two sides. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.